are encouraged.
Coffee with a Dog is live streaming now. My dog is your mind's best friend.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
I don't care. You crack on. Don't care. Last week on this dopey app called Streamlabs Talking Video, and then it was on the way to StreamYard. Big crash. Good morning, folks. I got to hit a button. Good morning. It's Monday morning, January 13th, 2025. A day I wish would never have happened. Like many other days, I wish would never have happened. But we're here. We have to do it. I looked at the calendar yesterday, late last night, because I was working feverishly on a video edit for a real estate guy yesterday until like midnight, and then had to do this scheduling for this week and saw that there were no guests scheduled on my calendar for today. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'll just take a day off. And then I went to Calendly and saw there were two guys who had rescheduled from last month. So I had to do a show anyway. So I'm not happy. When have you seen me happy? Have you ever seen me happy? Anyway, we have an interesting show today for you for a guy who's not happy, because in the first hour, we have Arnold Beeks. No chicken jokes. Arnold Beeks is a brain fitness guy. Brain fitness. I need my brain to go do some pump you up. And then in the second hour, John Verico, who is not sure what he wants to be. He's a motivational speaker, former stand-up comic, or maybe still stand-up comic. He's all over the map. Anyway, so we're going to do a little stand-up motivation. Anyway, that's the show we have for you today. Are you interested in that? Probably not, right? I'm just sick of this whole world. I have to tell you, after 11 years, I finally watched Interstellar, and I'm happy to report that Mall Cop is no longer the worst movie I've ever seen, the worst movie ever made. I don't know how people can suspend their disbelief on this movie. Now, it's 11-year-old movie. I think I can talk about it without worrying about being a spoiler. But here it is, the end of the world, Dust Bowl days in I guess the United States of America. It doesn't seem like they even consider the other parts of the world. It's just America. It's all that matters. And people are living on corn alone. That's the only thing they have to eat. It's the farmers are growing corn. And everybody looks healthy. Imagine a world where all you ate was corn, and everybody just ate corn. First of all, there's not a whole lot of nutritional value in corn. People would be looking pretty sick pretty quickly if that's all there was to eat. But besides that, there's this Dust Bowl thing, and Matthew McConaughey is driving around in a old truck, like a truck from like last century, the 20th century truck, and there's no gas stations, and he's drinking beer with his father on the porch. Now, where'd the beer come from? If nobody's growing hops and barley, where the hell is the beer coming from? Bottled beer. Who's making the bottled beer? And he's going to school talking about he pays his taxes. He's not working. Nobody's working. How's he paying taxes? Where's money coming from? Then he has to leave the planet. He finds NASA working in a cornfield somewhere. Like, who's paying NASA? And where they getting the money for rockets to aim at wormholes? And they have a rocket, and they want him to, because he's a NASA rocket guy, aim for the wormhole to find another planet like Earth. Finds one, crashes into it, lands in the water, and just jumps in the water without thinking twice. Like, what kind of living creatures might be in that water? Nah, don't worry about it. Just jump in. It's just a terrible movie. At that point, I didn't even bother staying to the end. It was just a terribly written, plot holes everywhere. Nothing makes sense. And somebody put millions and millions of dollars. There were the payroll alone for the actors in this movie: John Lithgow, Michael Caine, and whatever, Les Miserables, and Hathaway. Is that what? And Matthew McConaughey, who doesn't really ever deserve what he gets paid, but he gets paid. Millions of dollars went into this dopey movie for a bunch of plot holes. I'm just angry at that. And I did it at 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep, and I already have thoughts of the end of the world in my head because things are going bad. Then I had a racist rapist weekend. I wasn't doing any rape, and I wasn't doing any racism. Uh, but arguing with racist Anthony Cumia, formerly of Opie and Anthony, just loves it. Loves to get drunk and go full on racism. I was arguing with one of his fans on Opie's posts because the guy said that Anthony has been racist forever, but he speaks the truth, and that's what people love about him. So I asked, "Is racism truth?" He said, "Hell yes. You're being objectively true about different races. Then you're being authentic and real, and people relate to it." Really? You say racism is true? So you don't mind if somebody calls you a racist? You just taking the hood off? Yeah, yeah. That's what they're doing. Um, really bizarre. And then we have Mel Gibson making the rounds on Joe Rogan and Fox News. If you don't remember Mel Gibson for his anti-Semitic rant when he got locked up drunk on wine, you should remember the tape that went around that his ex-wife recorded of him saying, "If you get raped by a pack of niggers, it's your fault." First of all, you shouldn't get your niggers in a pack. Buy them in a carton. They're cheaper that way. Um, so we're dealing. I mean, people said, "What? What is the one good thing? Name one good thing." They said, "Name one good thing that Donald Trump has done since he came on the scene." And I said, "Well, he encouraged the racists to take off their heads, so we can at least see their faces now. They're not hiding it. They're all out in the woodwork. So at least we can identify um, all the racists. They're not hiding." Yeah, that too. Uh, so anyway, we do have a show to get to, right? Do I have to? I would rather just go to bed. I would go back to bed. That's what I would rather do. But in the meantime, I'll play you this Opus Clips. Sign up for Opus Clips. There's a link in the description. We really need the money to stay afloat because I'm having a financial, emotional, physical, psychotic breakdown. So you have to support our sponsors or else. That's it. people want to click on the open sign up, spend their money, so they'll send me money. That's what we want to do. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me now are split in three. That's better.
No, I don't want to be Little Spoon.
He's a bit of a small guy. Stephen, the racist rapist.
Oh my God.
Ortiz, and GD, the raper man.
I'm so not a
what am I
rapist.
doing here? Anyway, good morning, folks, fellas, guys.
Good morning, motherfuckers.
Ron's not here because Ron's not here.
Good morning, America.
You
MindDogTV.com.
lied already.
Are you tired of living a life of just fitting in? Well, no more. Come to MindDogTV.com for just $9.99 a word and get our 10 easy step guide called From Fitting In to Fitting to Go. Get fitting to go. Oh, sorry. Get glasses. Get from fitting in to fitting to go at shit. No,
who wrote this shit?
Well, begin living your best dog life. Get from fitting in to fitting to go and live your best dog life. Support your local mercenaries. MindDogTV.com and enjoy the suffering.
Have you ever been so tired?
No.
I'm really tired. I forgot to mention about the rapey stuff. I'm always talking about the racist stuff. Alina Habba. You know Alina Habba? She's president's counsel. There was a movie, The President's Analyst. The President's Counsel, Alina Habba, she has endorsed Andrew Tate. You know, Andrew Tate, sex trafficker.
Oh, my God.
Who makes videotapes of him pummeling women, beating them into submission. He's under indictment for sex trafficking and multiple rapes. She's a big fan of him.
Every time I hear a woman saying that she backs or supports or endorses Andrew Tate, are you just wanting to be assaulted? Well, is that what you're trying to do? Because that's all the dude does. He traffics women, he beats them, he rapes them, he tortures them, he locks them away, and then he gets locked up for it, gets out guilty, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's so sexy. Let's just keep following him." And it's like, what the fuck are you guys? I mean, it's no surprise. Look who he chose for president. But like, what the fuck, man? But yeah, the dude's a disgusting slime ball. Like, what?
Everything bad is acceptable now. Everything.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That's why I hate when my wife and daughters leave the house, dude. You don't know anymore these days.
No. So yeah, we got racism and rapism going on. That's the culture of America right now. Congratulations. Meanwhile, California is just burning down. California is kind of an important state. I don't know. People like, what do we get from California? Everything. Everything. Raw minerals, dairy, produce, all that stuff. California feeds a lot of America. So that interstellar thing, the Dust Bowl, new Dust Bowl. There we go. I'm in a really depressed mood. That's why I need my brain fitness fix today. How are you guys handling it? How do you deal with this stuff without losing your mind? I am losing my mind, and I never had much of a mind to begin with, but I'm losing it.
Thing is, it's a losing battle. I regularly wake up just a little more bitter at the world. I mean, I go to bed and there's a wildfire and an earthquake. I wake up, there's a tsunami warning and, fires elsewhere. There's somebody getting murdered down the road. There's, the world's a fucking shithole. But I like to keep some glimmer of optimism just because even Germany made it out of, the Nazi regime. So
yeah, but I agree that Germany made it out of the Nazi regime, but you know what it took to get there.
I know what it took to get there. Okay, but here's the thing. We're not far off from that already. So, I mean, if it's going to happen, let it happen. If it's not, don't. But we need to figure something out because everything's turning to shit.
You say we're not. We are very far from
I
bombs
mean,
falling
yes,
everywhere, from
I
tanks rolling
agree,
through the
but
cities.
we're a young country, right? Like, look at the other countries that have been around significantly longer. How many times did they have to collapse? Like, aren't we past due for one?
Collapse is one thing, but
Yeah, total collapse.
yeah, no.
Like,
Uh, tanks rolling through your streets and blowing up buildings and
at
bombs
this point, I wouldn't
falling.
be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that's the way it's going to go. I mean, we are not learning from history, and those who don't learn from history are
Are
doomed.
doomed to repeat it. Yeah,
That's correct.
it's what's
GJ's
gonna
just
happen.
listening. He's like, "Yeah, listen to these two idiots talk. I don't care."
Well, like I said, I do have a glimmer of hope, and I try to stay optimistic somewhat, just
This
because.
is your problem. Get rid of the hope. Abandon hope. All ye he went to hear.
Yeah, but then I'll end up 5150, and I'll be locked up in a hospital somewhere, and I don't want that.
All right. Our guest is here. Arnold Beeks is here. He's in the. Now, this dopey lady. She will announce you two guys, and she never announces the guests. She's not doing her job. Does she not know her job?
Maybe she's just selective.
So
It may be. It's not that she never announces the guest, because I have heard her announce the guest. There may be a setting where you can announce the guest or announce the host or
the guest
announce
could say,
everybody.
"Don't announce me."
Why is my drink so bright?
Yeah. All right. Arnold Beeks enables people to move from fitting in to flying out. I would like to fly out. Wouldn't you like to fly out?
Fly right out of this country to fucking somewhere else.
He grew up in an environment of extreme fitting in. Extreme fitting in. Aren't you curious about that? Conformity as an integral part of his upbringing. His father was a military officer, both in his work and at home. Still, he was very different from his fellow students at primary school and was complying with his father's norms and not those of his friends at school. But he's learned to fly out instead of fit in. He's here now. Let's welcome in Arnold Beeks. Good morning, Arnold.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Are you fitting in or are you flying out today? I feel like flying out, to be honest with you.
Absolutely flying out, or as I like to say, extraordinary.
So tell me about exactly what this is, what flying out entails. What are we talking about here? Breaking out of fitting into society's norms or conformity? What are we talking about here?
Everything you said. Basically, what I say to people is the moment we are born, we're supposed to do what other people want us to do. Yeah? So when you're born, when are you a good kid? When are you a good baby? When you do exactly what your parents tell you to do. Then later on you go to kindergarten or you go to school. When are you a good student at school? When your teachers like you, when you do exactly what your teachers tell you to do. Then you go to high school, same story. When are you a good student? When you do exactly what your teacher tells you to do. Then maybe you go to church or something else, doesn't matter. When are you good? When you do what the priest tells you to do, or the vicar, or whatever the name of the guy is. And then you go to study, whether it's a vocational training or university, same story. When are you a good student? When you do exactly what your teacher tells you to do. Then you start working. When are you a good employee? When you do exactly what your boss tells you to do. So by the time you're 20, 25, the only thing that you have learned is to meet expectations of other people. The only thing what you have learned is to live someone else's life. You're not living your life, you're living the life of your parents, of your teachers, of your bosses. That is what I call fitting in. Fitting in is in essence living someone else's life. That is how we are conditioned, most of us, if not all of us, to be. flying out is what I call is the moment you start living your own life and say, hey, I've had it with constantly meeting expectations of other people and living other people's life. I want to start living my own life. And that is the process in which I help people.
All right,
It,
but
it, I,
I would push back on that. I feel like that's where my life went wrong. I was a runaway at 14 and left and wanted to fly out, and I literally did fly out. Literally flew out. Instead of getting on a school bus, I got on an airplane and flew away. But I feel like that's where my life went wrong. Now, I'm not suggesting that people do that, but I'm suggesting there might be some middle ground here too, some conformity, some fitting in, uh, but still finding a way to I don't know, forge your own path. Yes or no?
Absolutely, absolutely. I say to people, I like when people stop for the red traffic light. Huh? I like it when people are waiting in the supermarket to pay, that they get in line. Yeah? So yes, you're right. It's not black and white, but you understand the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Right.
See, I look at um, it seems like you're assigning singular influences, but for example, being the youngest child in my home, my influences were, my mother and my father, and they didn't get along. So I had to be two different children in order to be the good child in their eyes. And then
Explain
I had
why.
siblings, and I had to be a different individual to be a good sibling in their eyes.
Hmm.
So what you're seeing as fitting in, to me, I'm looking at learning is, yeah, fitting in, but I'm not just fitting in with one parent. I'm trying to fit in with a family and then school. But it's not just fitting in, it's lesson learning. You're learning survival skills at that point as well, because we're born helpless. So when I'm born, I wasn't just fitting in by not shitting my diaper. I was also trying to survive because I needed someone else to feed me. So
So the
Yeah,
lesson you took
absolutely.
away was go ahead and shit the diaper. Is that what was?
no, that's your takeaway.
Oh,
My takeaway is there were lessons to be learned while there were opportunities to use the second letter of torch. There were opportunities for me to learn to be part of the community. And in
what
my
do you
case, at
mean?
that young age, my community was my mother, my father, and my siblings, and
Oh,
eventually school. Oh, my grandparents, because they were integral in raising me as well.
okay. Uh, Arnold, how does brain fitness tie into? Where does the brain fitness tie into this discussion?
Well, it was a realization when I was literally on my bike back from a mental health institution where I was helping my sister who had been diagnosed with depression, and she was into the traditional mental health care where they tried to put her full with medicine and into some therapy classes which made things worse. So I had to accompany her and talk with the folks who were running that. And while we were waiting for the meeting, she saw some other people where she had class with, and apparently two of the other people in the class had just committed suicide. Um, on my way back from that experience, I was like, "You're really screwed once you're in that situation. Huh? When you have your mental illness and you're stuck with the traditional mental health care system on one hand, and while on my bike home I was the care provider of my mother who had dementia and Parkinson. So that is when I realized, like, just like with body fitness, we really, really need brain fitness. Otherwise, things go downhill, and that is a, well, somehow natural process. But we really need to be working on our brain fitness, and that is how I developed this concept, and I hope that brain fitness will be just as normal as body fitness.
Okay, now in the link we have braingym.fitness/masterclass. Now, I don't see any .com in there, right? There's no .com. So, but just interesting. It's now the idea of fitness, brain gym. I feel like I haven't been to the gym in 9 years, and it's probably not a good idea for me at this age to go back to the gym, sciatica and whatnot. Uh, is it? But at the gym, there's not one size fits all. Different exercise programs for different people. Is it? Does that hold true with your concept of brain fitness? Different.
Absolutely. Your brain is unique. There are no two brains the same. So what you do for your brain fitness is different to anybody else. But the same is true for the gym. Yeah, it's like, well, 3.5 years ago, I used to go to the gym. Then I had a very severe car crash, and I can barely walk. So it's like for everybody is like it is about movement. It's about exercise, yeah. And whether it's walking your dog, whether it's going play tennis, whether it's go swimming, whether you bike, it doesn't matter as long as you keep moving. Yeah. For your brain, it's the same thing. For you, it is running your podcast show every morning. That is helping with your brain fitness. For someone else, it is reading a book. For someone else, it just as long as you keep your brain, well, keep it challenging, keep it complex, do something which is really requires all your time and energy.
So who designs the fitness program for your brain? Yourself, or is there like
You
a
do it yourself, but I give you guidelines. Yes, so it like just like I say you need to move. I'm not going to say you need to go to the gym or you need to play American football. I'm not saying that. It's like, well, find something which suits you where you can move. Huh?
how do I figure out my and I'm sure if I go to the masterclass, braingym.fitness/masterclass, I will be able to figure this out. But for now, how do I even start to figure out how to get my brain fit? Because my brain is it's a lazy fat slob,
It's a what?
a lazy fat slob. My brain. It's like a guy who hasn't exercised in 20 years, laying on the couch drinking beer all day. That's my brain.
Well, anybody's brain can develop and grow, and that's what they call brain plasticity. Is that you can grow and learn up to a very very high age. So it doesn't mean that if you not doing anything. And by the way, running a morning show every morning, that requires a lot of your brain already. Yeah? So you are already doing stuff like that.
I guess it doesn't feel like I'm using much of my brain for this. It's like, well, maybe that's what goes wrong. Um, but yeah, I guess my mom, who had severe dementia, she used to do crossword puzzles when she was in hospice. She was in hospice in my house, but she would do crossword puzzles through the roof, and her mind in that respect stayed very sharp. But she still had dementia and Alzheimer's pretty severe. So I'm not sure just staying active is enough because she was sharp enough to do crossword puzzles and word games and all that stuff, but still kind of what is this? Can you read that, guys? I can't read that. What does that say?
Um, it says couple lines. Okay, Coke and a car
Uh,
battery hooked up to the nipples, while the clown cries in the corner. Usually is a good brain fitness start.
all right, this is Ron, who's not here, but he can still text here. Anyway, uh, now where do we begin with the strategizing what we need to do in order to get our brains in shape?
Well, I suggest to people is start very simple and start with curiosity.
But
Curiosity.
didn't curiosity kill the cat? How do we know that it's any better for people? I'm just teasing.
That's a good question. We could well, never mind. Being curious, yeah, I think we are. We're all curious. That's why we have guests on here to learn and talk to different people, hear some different ideas from different people. Curiosity, it doesn't seem to be necessarily. I don't know. Maybe is any of this stuff like if you say I don't know, out of shape brain. I don't know what we're talking about here. Unfit brain. Uh, Contributing to things like depression, anxiety, or is it the stuff that is seems to be driven by current events and world circumstances more than necessarily what I'm doing for my own mental health.
Well, it is just like with the body fitness is um, after your age of 30, your health start to decline. At first, it's at a slow pace, and the more you're getting older and older, it gets faster and faster, and you decline more. If you basically do nothing around your strength will when you're in your 70s, 80s will be totally be degraded. My mother who, couldn't open a jar of jam. But that means at a young age you got to start working on your body fitness already. The same is true for dementia and Parkinson, whatever. Not everything, but a lot of that can be prevented by the right food, by exercise, by doing challenging things. That needs to start at a young age. If you're 75 and you're going to start, you're too late.
Is your brain fit?
My brain is reasonably fit. Yeah.
How do you know?
You have a check engine light, and there's a little light there that comes on. When your brain's in trouble, the light comes on and you struck out.
How does somebody know? Taking measure of themselves. How do you do that?
Well, if you can concentrate for a longer time, if you can work on challenging projects, if you can learn new things quite easily. Huh? And by the way, I know because short of 6 months ago, I went here to a brain clinic because I still had a lot of complaints given the accident that I managed, which I had. And they did a qualitative EEG where they check the connections in your brain. And literally, the psychologist said that she was amazed at, well, no, she literally said that my brain fitness has saved my life.
Wow.
Because it's so messed up and whatever, because in the car accident which I had, whatever she said, any other people in your condition, they would have not survived it.
Is it possible that her brain was so unfit that she was out to lunch?
Well, I wouldn't say that, and that's not nice to say.
I know it's not nice to say. We say a lot of stuff that's not nice but I mean, it seems to me, just like physical fitness is really or poor physical shape is a widespread. It seems to me that brain fitness is also. We have a mental health. Everybody thinks they're mentally. We're going around with undiagnosed people just claiming mental health as a badge of honor, mental illness as a badge of honor. But it seems to be rampant.
Absolutely, it's growing and whatever, and that's why we need to address it.
Is it really growing, or are people just because I said people, especially in the comedy world, with people I talk to a lot, they gravitate towards it. Like it's important to attach yourself to mental illness. Like it's a badge of honor for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it's getting a lot of attention, and it's also on social media and everything around. But it doesn't mean it's healthy. So part of it is true; it is growing. Another part is there is medicalization, the pathologization of mental illness, where everybody says, "Yeah, I think I got ADHD. I think I'm depressed. I think I'm this. I think I'm that. Give me some pills. Whereas you just need to work on your curiosity, learn another language, do some challenging work. So it's not black and white. Huh?
Right. Does creativity play a part in that? Engaging in creative arts and things like that.
It is absolutely crucial. It is absolutely crucial to be creative.
Okay. Now, are there like beginner exercises? Like, so if I were to go to the gym, they would just start me out with some soft stretching and stuff like that. Is there an equivalent to that in brain fitness?
Like I said, follow your well. A couple of steps. What I recommend to people is like be kind to yourself.
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's half my comedy act. So
Yeah, I don't know
are
if
there
you caught the
options B or
beginning, but
C?
I am just I'm beat up by the world that we're now. Would you suggest like turning off all outside stimuli because it's hard to escape anxiety and depression if you listen to the news and feel like California is burning down. We're heading to like just an autocracy in America. All these kind of things that feel like uh, depressing and anxiety and all that stuff. They're inducing all that stuff. Do I need to just kind of isolate myself?
Well, listen and read and follow a lot of that stuff for a very limited time per day only. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't do it all day or every few minutes or hours on end. That is extremely unhealthy. Absolutely.
The other day, I was thinking that I would be a great study for what do they call that? In prison where you're alone. What do they call that?
Solitary confinement.
Yeah, solitary confinement. I'd be good study for that because I think I wouldn't crack. I feel happiest when I'm not getting a whole lot of people in my life. I think I probably, and then science would be like, wow, he's actually doing better when we just put.
You'd end up painting masterpieces and end up writing bangers and just all sorts of stuff, probably.
Yeah, that's right. But so I just feel like the outside world is just crushing me at this point, and very, very full of depression and anxiety. So this is a thing. Now, do you think that's what is causing this? I don't know, pandemic of mental illness, or
I think there are a lot of reasons. There are four major reasons. One is the thing is where you get smartphones and social media with what you are describing. The other one is our food. There's a lot of poison and very unhealthy thing in our food which impacts us. There is the like I said, medicalization of our emotions. That is another thing. And the third thing is that our brains are continuously being conditioned by the media, the news, the big companies, by everything. Yeah, but even like with electromagnetic frequencies, by everything. Yeah, literally, they're calling the
what the heck happened there? Do we know what happened there? We all just got kicked out. Because Steven came in. That's what happened.
What do you mean I came in? I was already in.
You were knocked out, and then when you came back in, we kind of moved.
Oh, I didn't touch any buttons. It froze, and then when it reloaded, everybody was out of the room. It's so weird.
I think it's all your fault. I can't even blame GD this time, which is really depressing for me.
My hands are back here.
Yeah, but where was it? Oh, never mind. Arnold, you've done an amazing thing here. You've made GD almost silent for, and
he's turned into Ron.
Yeah, he's turned into Ron. Something is. I don't know if you cured his mental unfitness or you made it worse. I'm not sure what happened there, but so what happens in the masterclass? What is that all about?
The masterclass is just a couple of videos around specific topics where people can learn about curiosity, about relationships, about their uniqueness, about emotions, how to deal with it. So those are specific topics where is in a video where they can learn about. And in addition to that, I got a 15-week training where I help people to, well, to basically build a practice of working on their brain fitness.
uh, what is die before you die? That's a curious phrase. What do you mean by that?
Die before you die is a phrase which already was there during the time of the Greeks and the Romans. So it's a very old saying where where in terms of what I explained earlier is that if you live someone else's life, you're not living your own life. And die before you die is that I recommend people is that you start living your own life and that you do what you want and do and be and whatever. And that is when you start living your own life. That is die before you die. Yeah, I'm sure you heard about. Have you heard about the top 5 regrets of the dying?
Um, I know that being spending more time in the office is not on the list. That's all I know.
Yeah, that is important. But there was a hospice nurse in Australia who asked patients there is like, what do you regret in life? Out of that came a top 5. The number one of that was not living a life true to yourself.
See, I think I did, and again, I feel like this is probably could have used a little more conformity in my own life. My number, honestly, and I'm a pig, and I deserve to go to hell for this. But my biggest regrets are the women I didn't have sex with, who I should have. Seriously, that's a problem. But that's what comes to mind. If I'm on my deathbed and they say, "What are the things you regret in life?" I can name names. I don't want to name names, but uh, that's where it would come from for me. I mean, that's it.
I thought it would have been the people you didn't throw off roofs.
Well, that's probably if I had to go to 10, but in the top 5, I think it would probably be women I didn't at least try to seduce.
You might just be brain damaged, man. You might not need fitness. You might just need replacement.
This is where I feel like there's no help for me. Like, I appreciate what you're trying to do for people. I just feel like I'm beyond help. So, anyway.
Well, you are, as long as you think that.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you diagnosed it. It felt freeing to hear
I
you
know.
say you are like, oh, okay, I'm off the hook. I don't have to go to the gym.
Sorry, Matt, you're fucked.
The guy who owns the gym just told me I can't buy a membership there, and I felt like, okay, now I'll go back home and lay on the couch and watch TV. That's what I thought. So yeah, so now anybody can sign up for this by going to Brain Gym Fitness /masterclass, right? Does it all start at one time? Do people take the class together? Is it like an individual
Now
thing?
the master class is individual. You get a video and you can do the training is a group thing. Yeah.
Okay. You need anything to go along with it? Books, written materials, none of that stuff?
No.
Okay. Well, any final thoughts before we let you go? This is you know what? It's an interesting concept of a brain gym. I'm not sure that again, I feel like I'm pretty, and you're right. As long as I feel like I'm helpless, I am helpless. But I'm manically depressed. Manically depressed. I'm happy to be depressed. In other words, I'm excitedly happy to be depressed.
Well, then that's no problem. Huh?
I don't know. I celebrate my depression every morning on this show. I rant about it. But then I laugh at how terrible and curmudgeonly I sound. So it kind of makes me feel a little bit better for a few.
And then he invites us in to cheer him up a little bit.
Right.
Well, that's where you get friends for, right?
That's right. If I only had some friends. See,
Friendship.
Oh, there you go. Well, thanks for being here. We'll try to send some people to braingym.fitness.masterclass. Thanks for being here, Arnold.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now. Bye for now. Now, what is this?
No.
All right. GD, you were awfully quiet there. And it's an unusual circumstance we find ourselves in when you're just not telling us about what happened to you and the trauma that happened to your brain when you went to the brain gym. They took your brain was doing I guess bench pressing, and it dropped the weights on your brain. Is that what happened?
No, that's not what happened at all.
Well, what did happen?
Well, what did happen was I found his concepts somewhat trite and boring. I found his delivery uninspiring, and then I found my notes were about the wrong author.
I don't think it's author, but
well, honestly, I don't know if you remember. I said something. Well, I said now I said he was talking about the lessons thing, and like I said, it was very singular. It's like you're a child, you're trying to fit in with your mother, fit in with your father, blah blah blah, and everything was so singular. And our human experience is not like that. So it was kind of like your explanation of that interstellar. There's just too many holes for me to try to fill in at one point. But then to shoot down his argument,
talking about holes, I could no, this is something different.
So when I went to talk about his argument, I said, and as you say in Torch, but Torch is not him. Torch is John Verico. Verico, or what is so? Yeah, so my eyes dropped down to the wrong author, and so I started saying I started using the other authors like as an opportunity to and community, and his eyes glazed over, and I'm thinking like, what the? He doesn't know his own stuff, but that wasn't his stuff.
About how all the things he's talking about, curiosity, and how that ties into nonconformity. And I do feel like being a nonconformist ruined my life because I was extremely nonconformist and still am. I can't play by rules. I reject authority. And I think you are the same way, to be honest with you.
But I'm not actually.
People tell you to do something, you're gonna say "fuck you." I'm gonna do the opposite.
No, actually, no, it's not it at all. See, the difference between you and I is that you are ultimately very, very rebellious, and you really do believe you know better than everybody else. I'm willing to accept the fact that there are other people who know more than me.
I think that was a little bit of projection, to be honest with you. I don't think I know more about everything than anybody else. As a matter of fact, there are lots of areas where I seek out experts who know about things that I know nothing about. Like, I'll tell you one for an example. Positive, an undeniable example is car mechanics. I will go to a car mechanic and I don't even know.
Well, that's self-preservation. There's something on the line there.
That's knowing what you don't know. That's knowing your limitations. I know nothing about how an engine works. I know the basics. Gas goes in, blows up in the cylinders, and but how the actual mechanics of it, I know nothing about. And I am proud to ask for help in those times where I say, you know what, I don't know. Look at it. I don't know how that works. That Stephen does well, you get the thumbs up afterwards too, the little thumb up.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm getting a 2 for right now. This is neat.
Wow.
Good
morning, Ron.
You silly.
Morning.
What were you doing while you were typing?
He was getting his brain ridges on.
Yeah.
He was getting ridged for his pleasure.
Were you were you being pulled over by police. What was the reason you were not able to be on camera, but able to type in the chat room? You were doing something illegal, right?
No, it's just I had to wake up because I went to bed like 3:30.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
Gosh, what a baby. That's my normal bedtime.
So, Ron, have you seen Interstellar?
huh?
Have you seen Interstellar, the movie?
Yes, I've seen that movie.
How do you rate it?
Like out of what, 5 or 10?
Well, 5, because it got 4.5 stars on IMDb and a couple other 4.5 stars.
I think it depends if you really like that genre. I mean, there are some good things about it, but I would give it like a 3, maybe.
Generous.
Yeah.
Where does the beer come from? That's what I'm confused about. Where's the beer come from? Who's making the beer?
There is a clip. There's a clip on YouTube though with someone took all the times that he says Murph in that movie and put it all together. It's like, hey Murph, hey Murph, hey Murph. It's all
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. I tried to. I didn't get to the end. My wife said, "Oh, I heard the end is so." I don't know what she said, emotional or whatever. I was like, who the fuck could get to the end of that?
Did you ever hear the supercut of the "Shut the Fuck Up, Donnie" from The Big Lebowski?
Oh, I love that movie.
There-
I love
there-
to shut the fuck up, Donnie.
There's a hot reel of just all of those put together, and it's so great. It's just like 2 minutes of him telling Donnie to shut the fuck up. Oh, it's great.
Up, Donnie. Yeah,
you're out of your element.
Yeah. There's not like it couldn't be a very long clip. It's not like it doesn't go on and on. It's just like probably 20.
No, but if I remember correctly, I think somebody made like a 10-hour loop on YouTube.
Wow.
It's stupid, but it's hilarious.
I did a video because back in the day when I was trying to get monetized, you had to have a certain amount of watch hours and all that stuff. I did Cure Your ED, and it was a 10-hour just 10-hour video with music video with hot chicks play it on YouTube. And somebody watched it the other day and said, "Thank you very much." That was in the comments. And I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
I guess it finally worked after 10 years of being, or more than that, 15 years of being up there. But so it's to get your watch hours up. You keep somebody hooked. It was just like chicks in bikinis and stuff, or on the beach, half naked, for different scenes. It's a good trick if you want. This is for people out there who have YouTube channels and want to get monetized, and you need your watch hours. Just put a loop up there of very sexually.
Is that video online still right now?
Yes. Yeah.
And do these women know they were being recorded?
No, they weren't. It was stock.
Okay.
It was stock.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't know if you were down on the beach.
One of the stock video sites and said "sexy women" and downloaded every clip that they had and put them in a loop and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Different music to it. Sexy. Yeah, I guess fuck music. Disco porn soundtrack. You know.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
Oh, you've listened to enough of it, I guess.
Hell yeah. No, it's just it's a trope. It's a trope that a couple of my favorite movies use. I love it.
I got to put you on a brain fitness program to
fit these nuts in that mouth. Oh,
but you know, like during the 80s, and they had that terrible porn music, but that was pretty much what was on the radio too. It was only like one step down. Because,
really?
Can I
yeah,
tell you?
like,
Can I
a
make
lot
a
of music
really
was
bad
not great.
confession here? Oh my God, what a creep I am.
Yeah, we know. Go on.
Yeah. In the 80s, in some stupid magazine, there was a subliminal seduction. And it was all this 80s porn movies. It was like a hypnotic induction in a tape that was the hypnotic induction was buried under this like porn movie soundtrack, and I would leave that in. When I first got divorced, I just had that in my house 24/7, so any woman who walked in was subjected to it.
That's, dude. You were trying to be like the Manchurian Cosby?
Something like that, yeah.
That's fucked
But it
up.
didn't work. I mean, I never saw one woman getting turned on by the tape, but I did see quite a few women like say, "What is this? This is like supermarket or elevator music." It's like, no, I don't know what elevators you're riding that have porn on. So
GD, are you okay, buddy? You look upset.
he's like Ron. He didn't get to sleep till 3 o'clock in the morning. He was up watching Interstellar on whatever.
This is not my upset face. This is just a regular face I have. I'm sorry.
Why do you have resting bitch face then? Stop.
Resting bitch face.
That's
Well, that's the show for you, folks. We're done.
that's. I guess if I'm going to get tired of anything to make this about me, yeah,
It's all about you. Haven't had church in 3 weeks.
not live church,
Dead church.
pre-recorded church.
Yeah, the Reverend's actually at a nudist colony right now, enjoying himself. He just
Maybe that's why I'm
recorded
depressed.
some videos.
I need a little church pick me up. Can you get the
Yeah,
rest? On the phone call.
just this past Sunday, his sermon was on demonic possession.
Or demonic?
Demonic, not demonic. Demonic is Jamaican. That's how the Jamaicans say man. But man is how we say it. Yes, demonic possession. But that was the 12th. The 5th, there was, right? Yeah, there wasn't a show on the 5th because he was starting to work on it and just ran out of time. He couldn't record it. And he didn't know how to do it live. So he just put up a little thing that says no church today.
Now, you've used Restream, right?
I use Restream, but I have a slightly different. I have the minimum package that you pay for.
Right.
So it's pro, but it's not like. I'm sorry.
You add co-host at that level?
I don't know the answer to that. I can try. I'll tell you what. I take that back. When I signed up for the package, I could have one co-host, and that's because at the time I had one person I was working with who turned out to be so unreliable that I just dropped him. And at the behest of my wife, I think my wife says he is so bad. If you don't get rid of him, I will leave you. I think that's what she said.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. That escalated so fast.
I'm really going to miss her.
Yeah. So he had to go.
And you buy one more guitar, I'm out of here. I'm really going to miss her.
So I had to let him go, but I did it kind of easy. Actually, I called him to let him know that he was going to have to be off the show. And when I called him, I guess he heard it in my voice. He goes, "Look, I really haven't been a good co-host to you. I got a lot of shit going on. I've been homeless for 2 weeks."
So your co-host was Barry White?
I
know I haven't been a very good co-host to you.
Yeah, that's because I couldn't get James Earl Jones.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was like.
Are they both dead?
Yep.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, but James Earl Jones' voice will live on in perpetuity, at least in the Star Wars sagas, because I think.
Well, and in the Disney World too.
Oh, they did arrange for him, because I know he made an arrangement for the Lucasfilms people, the Star Wars people, Disney, whoever owns Star Wars now, to use his voice in perpetuity.
Yeah,
and he did that with Mufasa as well.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I believe they did, yeah, because I mean he was the cornerstone of like '90s Disney movies.
But who didn't they have somebody else voice Mufasa in some other movie? One of the other.
Yeah, but it was a younger Mufasa, so his voice wasn't as deep.
Oh yeah, okay. So
but I still think they used his voice. I think in the opening and then at the end of the movie.
Okay.
It's nice that they use his voice and stuff, but at the same time, it's like we really can't find another baritone out there to replace him.
Well, it's not just the baritone. Also, it's his. It's
I mean, I get it.
I agree with you when it comes to people like The Rock. He's like where his contribution is nothing but muscles and very little dialogue and eyebrow raising. They can't find another muscular black guy who can raise an eyebrow, you know. So and also I feel the same way about Crumb, that the civil rights attorney is like every time there's a black disaster, there's this one bald black attorney who shows up in all of them. There's got to be another black attorney somewhere who can handle civil rights. You know,
Sharpton. Oh no, he was not an attorney.
Sharpton's not an attorney, it was like the one minister. He's like he shows up at it was a twofer. It was either him or Jesse Jackson for a while.
Right.
So
and with the Tanya Brawley thing, I think Alton Maddox was an attorney for that. Whatever. I don't know what made me think of this. Something you guys were just talking about. Alina Habba, again, coming back to her, she said Trump would call her and play Hold On, I'm Coming. Ask her to listen to Hold On, I'm Coming while he would talk to her. And I guess 2 plus 2.
Which version?
The one where you fucking jack yourself off to her phone sex.
Oh, because I thought there was like a Blues Brothers version also, and it's very difficult to do that during that one.
Yeah. I'm thinking, Hold On, I'm Coming with Donald Trump's generation's wet ass pussy. WAP. I mean, it was like pornographic. It was as far they were trying to push the envelope as far as it would go in the late 50s, and so that was what radio would accept is Hold On, I'm Coming.
It's funny you said that. My wife got this free trial of Apple Plus, and we started watching this show called Platonic. It has Seth Rogen in it and Rose Byrne, and the show's pretty funny. But there's an episode, and they go to this like 50s and the 50s style diner, like it's a corporate diner type thing, and they go in and like the 50s music and stuff is playing, and Seth Rogen has this line. He's like, it's kind of crazy when you listen to these songs because most of them are about fucking underage girls, and everyone's okay with it.
Yeah. And that continued even into the 60s. I mean, she's 16. She's
and the 70s, and into the 80s.
Yeah, my bass player, we had this discussion a lot of times because someone was talking about a song that shouldn't be played anymore because of the pedophilia reference or something.
She's just 16 years
well
old.
We went back we said wait a second, and but they said we should have good music like the Beatles had, and so that's when Phil and we both lit up. It was like, okay, here we go. We went back to the Beatles catalog.
17,
how about here's a deep how about Neil Sedaka?
What one?
Well, Calendar Girl was one. Then there was another one that he had. I just remember my dad used to listen to that shitty music. So
yeah.
Our argument was started by I said I don't like that song that they play at white weddings all the time. Billy Idol White Wedding. No, it's Sweet Caroline. Is that not? It's
Caroline's not about a young girl though.
It is. It was about Carolyn Kennedy, and she was very young when he wrote it.
Really, I never knew that about Carolyn Kennedy.
It was about Carolyn Kennedy, and I think she was like 14 when he wrote it.
And Winger had that song. She's only 17.
She's only 17. Stray Cats had Sexy and 17, which is even.
See, in some places, I have to wonder where they were when they wrote it. Like, were they in a town where it was 17 was the age, and they went,
Tennessee.
That's good.
They were in Tennessee.
Or they were like in some place where it's like, oh, something. What rhymes with 14? Well, we can't write that song here because the age of consent is 16. Well, what rhyme? Where can we go? And they go, all right, well, because I got a great song, but it's about a 14-year-old, but we can't write it in this state. Where can we go? Right. Let's try Arkansas. Okay.
It's like the guy from Kentucky who wouldn't marry a virgin because she ain't good enough for her own family. How could you be good enough for others?
Oh, okay. That's fucked up. What about I Am 16 going on 17? That has to be about underage dating.
What song is that?
That was from a show, though, right? That was from that's a musical.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that's the Sound of
16,
Music.
going
yeah,
on
but it wasn't
17.
about boning her, was it?
Probably.
I think, yeah, it was about. Wasn't that from the? I think that was from the Sound of Music.
Yeah, it's the Sound of Music.
Sound of boners. My boner doesn't make a sound.
Wasn't she trying to convince the dude that she was old enough to marry him or some shit? I don't know.
I have a stealth boner.
I think he was a captain I think he was like a captain in the Swiss Army or something, or he had a Swiss Army knife, or
Swiss Army penis.
Or yeah, also a very versatile.
But why I brought this up, Alina Habba not knowing that Trump asking her to play "Hold On, I'm Coming" is like, it's a dirty thing. It's a dirty old man. Just listen to this while I talk to you. Well, come on. Out of all the songs in the world, "Hold On, I'm Coming" while you're on the phone. I mean, it sounds like you could put two and two together and know.
Well, he could have played. Look, he could have gone to the Beatles, a classic and played "Here Comes the Sun," but that would be Don Jr. calling her. Never mind.
Yeah, and the "Hold On" part adds on to the whole phone part of it. Hold on, I'm coming. You know. But,
yeah.
But she's not a very bright person. Obviously, she's giving an interview where she's endorsing a rapist, fucking sex trafficking, whatever. The Mel Gibson tape is making the rounds again. Are you familiar with the Mel Gibson tape? Not the Jew, not the fucking Jews who run Hollywood tape.
No, the girlfriend one, right? That one is a classic Mel.
Yeah. The hold on, let me.
I deserve to have a blowjob. Is that it?
Yeah. Then the gang of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's play it.
I don't walk around. I don't walk around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the time.
Public, and it's a fucking embarrassment to me. You look like a fucking bitch on heat, and if you get raped by a pack of niggers, it'll be your fault. All right? Because you.
All right.
Jesus Christ, Mel Gibson.
Why didn't they play that on Rogan when he was on?
I know. Now,
why? Because Rogan kneels to Hollywood now. He's part of them.
Yeah, but Mel Gibson isn't really part of Hollywood, isn't he? Something of an. Well, I guess he's making a comeback. They're trying to.
How? I mean, how many? I obviously get more than 2 strikes because the Jew thing was a big strike. The getting locked up and saying the fucking Jews who run Hollywood and all that stuff. He blamed it on the wine. Yeah, but
because he finances his own movies. That's why. He knows how to get a movie made, and like with Passion of the Christ, he bet on himself and put a lot of his own money into that.
Well, and he's got a second one in the works.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they're doing the sequel, where he like comes back and comes out of the cave like, ta-da!
So, do you know what he said on Fox News? First of all, this is what.
Oh wait, did he come out and say? First of all, I'd like to say Rob Schneider is a funny guy.
He said that the fires in L.A. were a Democrat plot. The Democrats did this to get rid of all the rich people and put like low income housing and get more poor people. Like why?
Did somebody just come into the room?
So it's a Democratic plot to burn down California so we could put up low income housing. Like, I don't think that's the way you go about it.
No, I mean, wouldn't it be better just to drag people out in the street and shoot them? Why would you burn down all the buildings?
Exactly.
Besides that, if it was really a Democratic plot, what you would do is first thing you do is get rid of Mar-a-Lago and turn that into subsidized housing, because that would piss off a lot of people.
You couldn't just light a fire in Mar-a-Lago because it wouldn't.
No, you just evict people. Because first of all, he violated his lease anyway. But nobody's enforcing it. Because in order for him to get that place, he had to do certain things, and he violated that a long time ago. So break the lease, get rid of him, and then turn it into subsidized housing. That would piss off millions of MAGA people.
Wow.
To turn MAGA headquarters into subsidized housing.
Wow, look at you, you vindictive bastard. You're just trying to be mean to all the rich people.
Not rich people. I mean, yeah, I do have a different remedy for certain rich people.
Ooh.
I think they call it a Third Amendment, First Amendment, somewhere between there. I get them mixed up.
The other thing Gibson said on Rogan, he said that his friends were cured of stage 4 cancer with ivermectin. It's gonna get people killed. People who think that now believing that ivermectin cures cancer.
Well, for one thing, like I haven't watched that episode of Rogan with Mel, but I've seen like some of the clips, and he just seems even crazier. I don't know if it's like I don't know if he's on coke or what, but just like
brain
He
fitness.
seemed coked out for sure on Rogan. He seemed coked out of his mind.
Yeah. You know, he always seemed a little bit crazy, but he seemed.
Yeah, his dad was a fucking nutcase, like very super devout Christian, and like had all sorts of wild theories. So it makes sense why he's fucked up.
Right.
Yeah, he's a super devout Catholic, though, right? That's a
well. The thing too, do you guys you remember the heavy metal band Slayer? I do. They just retired recently, but the lead singer and like the chief songwriter in that band, he is a very devout Christian, and he's been quoted in interviews and say, you know, people say your music is of the devil and stuff, and he's like, well, I'm a very devout Christian, and if you don't read the lyrics, you should know this is just a parody. We're making fun of it.
Okay. Fine. Be that way. Just make fun of it. I don't know. I'm going to play the news, and then we'll meet John Verico. I hope that's how you say his last name. Verico. Play some news, and then we'll be back to meet our next guest.
This is News in 60 with Alan Edwards.
The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza under Hamas administration reported that 46,006 individuals have lost their lives in Gaza since the conflict with Israel erupted on October 7, 2023. More than a dozen people are feared dead, with Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna indicating the toll is likely to increase as wildfires continue to wreak havoc across Southern California amid intense dry winds.
Thousands of firefighters are engaged in battling at least 5 major blazes around the Los Angeles area.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, visited the Pasadena Convention Center on Friday, extending their support to victims and first responders affected by the catastrophic wildfires tearing through Los Angeles. Ukraine has reportedly captured 2 North Korean soldiers who were wounded while fighting on behalf of Russia, Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed on Saturday.
The 2 soldiers were taken into custody in the Kursk Oblast.
Wow. Yes, this is crazy. You see this mayor of California. How did this woman get elected mayor? She looked like smirking during a press conference, just like got this dopey little smile on her face. A press conference about people dying in fires, and she says,
hey, Trump got elected. Why does it even matter? She could come out there and eat her own shit and be like, see this old fogey you guys voted for?
Wow.
It's par for the course. Hey, you accept lower standards, you get lower standards. That's where we are.
Speaking of eating shit, a guy gave a homeless guy a shit sandwich. It was sentenced to jail, but then appealed it, and they let him out. I mean, how cruel are people? Going out and finding somebody who will eat anything because he's hungry. And I got it. I'll just shit between 2 pieces of bread and bring it out. I mean, this is why I'm just sick of humanity and sick of this world. I want out. Anyway. All right. I want out.
There's the door.
please, just kick me through the door. I you know what? I've always said I'm too much of a pussy to kill myself. This is why I'm still alive. I'm never gonna kill myself, but I would be happy if somebody came up behind me.
But if you were gone, then who's gonna really enjoy the suffering?
Did a Henry Hill? Oh, somebody there was enjoy this suffering in somebody's JB. Hold on, let me pull this up. He put.
Are you going to start playing "Here Comes the Sun" or "Hold On, I'm Coming"?
No, I'm not.
You said, "Hold on, let me pull this up." Then
here, JB thinking a real president-elect would have offered support to the governor and the citizens of California. Instead, he's enjoying the suffering. This is on Twitter. Yes, I was like,
Oh
wow,
man,
this guy been watching the show or what? Enjoying the suffering.
Trump doesn't enjoy the suffering; he starts the suffering.
All right, whatever. It's time to meet. Time to meet our next guest. Are you excited? I hope his name is Verico and pronounced Verico because that's how I've been saying it. He's a guy
And if
who
there's more than one of them, are there a pair of veins?
I don't know.
Okay,
You can ask him that.
come on,
It's a guy who
GD.
doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. I'm not sure if stand-up comedy is in his past, but it's listed in his bio. He's a humorous, positive, upbeat approach to leadership and communications guy. John teaches how to keep your inner motivational torch burning. Boy, am I a piece of work for him. And how to spread your torchlight to others. I think I'm putting everybody's torchlight out. This is my mission: is to dim everybody's light.
I
Torch
agree
is
with
an
that.
acronym.
Well, I say we wait to see what kind of torch he has. If he has like a torch that he carries like for an old flame, that's
Like
one thing.
looking
If
for
he has like a
Frankenstein.
tiki torch,
Oh,
right? But if he has like a little tiki torch, let's see what kind of torch he has. If it's
It
like the
could be an
Statue of
acetylene
Liberty,
torch. Can't be put out.
it's an acronym for trust, opportunity, respect, communications, and humanity.
community, isn't it? Oh yeah, communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Did I miss one?
No.
John's here now. Say hello to John Verico. Yeah, I'm hoping it's Verico. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Good morning. And yes,
Is
it
it
is
Verico?
Verico. It is Verico.
Okay, cool. Stand-up comedy in the past, or is it something you still dabble in, still do, or?
Very rarely, every once in a while, somebody will ask me to come in and do something, but really don't do too much straight comedy anymore.
Positive.
You do gay comedy.
Positive talk. You do
sometimes, yes.
A radio show called Positive Talk. I think I do. I think I'm going to rebrand this to Negative Talk. So I'm a good subject for you. The torch and staying positive and all this stuff. What do you got for a curmudgeon old guy who like me who's looking to die?
First of all, we don't need you to die. We need you to be here because you got to keep fighting this good fight, man, along with the rest of us. There's just too much darkness and stupidity in the world, and we need people like you to keep pointing it out so we ultimately smack people in the face with it.
Right. See, but according to anti-DEI theorists, the darkness and the stupidity are the black people. So,
oh my God!
Whoa, where did that come from?
I'm not just saying. I'm just saying that's where So we're trying to get rid of the darkness. So we're trying to get rid of the darkness and stupidity, and there's somebody up there on the right going, yeah.
GD, go back to being angry and quiet. Jeez.
That's why. That's why, GD. We've got to reach inside of ourselves and pull that light out. That light right here, right? And we can get that light, and then we can share that light with others.
Wow. Does that work on COVID?
Torch,
does that work on COVID?
Only if you take it inside.
Inside.
I have to tell you, when you talk about that, I have to laugh because at the time, my full-time job was with Homeland Security, with the Science and Technology Directorate. I was actually working as the spokesman for the agency that did the research on the effects of sunlight and bleach on the COVID virus, and we had. The labs, not we, I shouldn't take credit for it because I'm not the science guy, but the labs folks had done all this study and they were looking at, how the disease can transmit on surfaces, not from person to person,
right,
but on surfaces. And we had done the research. This was preliminary findings. And somebody up in the higher levels said, we've got to tell the president right away. And the first thing that Trump said was, we're going to do a news conference right now. It's preliminary results, man. And and we get out there and we tell the story about what the research is finding is that, sunlight has a degrading effect on the virus on surfaces, which means if you're going to grab a shopping cart at the supermarket, grab the one that's sitting outside in the sunlight, not the one that's sitting inside in the dark, in the air conditioning. And, right. And then the other thing was, when you're cleaning things up, bleach was very effective. And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, the big orange chucklehead just gets up there and starts talking about, well, if we could get the sunlight inside the body, or, if we ingest bleach, and assholes out there was just eating this stuff up. Like, Are you kidding me? How stupid are you people?
Now,
But,
there's a different question. How stupid
Yeah.
they are is a different question than.
But then again, if someone's drinking bleach, that's also called thinning the herd.
Yes. But then there's some idiot's going to get him to the hospital and get their stomach pumped in time. So, unfortunately, Darwin's theory just doesn't.
Well, you got to at least have one or two survive to tell the rest not to do it, right? So.
Well, when the company,
But they don't admit that they were wrong. I did it wrong. I took the wrong amount, or I don't know.
The company I used to work for, there were several people there that died from it because they wouldn't take vaccines and stuff, and they were it's like, you should have taken that vaccine because you were not in good health at all, ever.
Yeah, we had like 17 people at the company where I worked for just die from complications due to COVID.
Oddly enough, I worked at a really gross Walmart and nobody died from COVID. So,
well, first of all, to work at a Walmart, you have to have a lower standard of living, which means you have a higher, stronger immune system.
Yeah.
Boy, this conversation took a very weird.
Where did we go with
we're
this
talk
thing?
about
Where did we go with
motivation and spreading positivity, keeping your torchlight on.
Well, I just want to reference my Bible on page 56. It says, "God hates the lazy." So right,
56. That's not how
he would have written it on 57, but God was too lazy to write a page 57. And
that was like chapter and verse, just page 56.
It's in First Opinions, chapter 6, verse 9.
There you go. That's the way it's done, Stephen. Thank you very much. Even though that was just made up.
I'm loving it. Hey, GD, you did mention. You said you wondered if there were two of me, if we would have veins.
Varicose veins.
Yes. I want you to know, I grew up with that damn joke my whole life.
Wow, really?
Oh God. Oh, kids are mean, right? They will come up with nicknames for stuff. And when I was coming up in the 60s and 70s, you remember? Well, I don't know if any of you guys, some of you guys might be old enough to remember, but they had this new painkiller that came out called Vanquish.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, take two Vanquish. And it was also kind of the equivalent of the peace sign. Well, of course, V is Vanquish. So Vanquish became yet another nickname that was created by the kids.
Oh, but see, now you could have had a real cool, bad guy, super villain art story, called the Vanquish. You could have had a whole thing, man. See,
Stephen, that's a brilliant idea. I wish I would have thought of it, except for the fact that, and this is kind of how I wound up learning about comedy and learning how to laugh at yourself, is because I was an undersized kid. When I graduated high school at the age of 18, I was only 5'3", weighed 110 pounds.
Man, I have poops bigger than that.
Right. I was the pipsqueak. And so, people would find excuses, to beat up on me. When I drew attention to myself, it just was an excuse to get beat up. And so I was forced to be an introvert, or I'm sorry, I was an extrovert forced to be in an introvert's body and to act like an introvert because I didn't want to draw attention to myself. And I wish I'd had, we're all fascinated by superheroes when we're kids, right? We read comic books and stuff like that. And I still do. But wanting to be a superhero and having the ability to be a superhero at 5'3", 110 pounds, yeah, not so much.
See, I had a very similar circumstance, being small, but I've been forbidden to talk about myself, so I'm gonna talk about someone else instead. There's this black kid I know who looked just like me. No.
Look, when I wanted desperately to fit in as a kid, right? We all want to be liked. And interesting how the first part of your show talked about, the mental fitness and brain fitness and stuff like that. And we talk about how we all try to fit in. We want to be liked by mom and dad and our friends and all this other stuff. And I, I was just like anybody else. I wanted to fit in. And I looked at the people who fit in and were admired. And of course, they were the jocks.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And so I was way too small for most sports. Didn't have the strength or the speed or any of that stuff. So I looked around and I kept trying things, and I was a lousy athlete, just plain and simple. But the wrestling team, I don't know why I thought little tiny. I was less than 100 pounds. I weighed 96 pounds when I got onto the wrestling team, and the coach just looks at my skinny little ass, and he's like, "Dude."
Yeah, but with wrestling teams, you're going to be wrestling other kids that size. You're not going to be wrestling 400-pound kids.
There weren't that many.
Out.
There weren't that many kids my size, and some of those kids my size worked out.
Right, yeah, I mean that's different. Yeah,
yeah.
Because when I was a freshman, I thought I was a pretty good wrestler in middle school, which is a totally different standard than high school.
Oh yeah.
And so when I went to high school, I said I would try out for the wrestling team. Oh, I get the spotlight to myself. Hey guys, welcome Ron, welcome Matt, welcome.
What just happened? Did it again with his dopey little iPad. When he comes in and goes out, he ruins the entire.
The thing is, I'm not going in or out. It just freezes and then everyone's gone, including myself.
But you
I'm not touching anything.
Anyway, GD was telling us.
Step away from the keyboard.
So when I got into high school,
white child in Alabama.
Right. When I went to high school, I tried out for the wrestling team, and I was like 5'6", 120 pounds. And to audition, the wrestling coach, Coach Wilgard, wrestled each person who wanted to try out for the team. So I was wrestling against a 6'3", 6'4", 200 some odd pound man, and to get to my audition for the team. And when we were wrestling, and I was so quick and so small that he couldn't pin me, and I kept escaping, but I didn't have the strength to get him in any kind of hold. So he would just like shake me off. And after a few minutes, he just got angry and grabbed me by the testicles and squeezed until I submitted. And once I did that, he looked at me and he goes, "Next time, wear a cup." And there was no next time because I never went back out on that mat again.
I don't know if this has nothing to do with anything, but
we're talking about wrestling.
I weighed 100 pounds when I was 1 year old, so I was more as an infant. I weighed more than John.
Your poor mom. Is she still walking?
My mom. The story was she had to have neighbors. The neighbors help her carry me. When it was time to pick me up, it took 3 women to pick me up and put me.
That's if they wanted to pick him up. The truth is, he was never held as a baby.
Right.
Hence the way he is now.
Listen, there's actual
women never wanted to pick me up.
And plenty of photographs where they just left me on the front lawn, just sitting there by myself.
Oh, boo fucking who? Okay, you know who was holding me when I was a baby?
I was happy with
my mother didn't hold me when I was born. My aunt had to hold me. And my father wasn't even there. Some stranger took the picture. Okay, so I don't want to hear this crap.
No, I wasn't giving you a side story. It was actually a good thing. This is why I like being by myself. I think it actually was happy times for me. But coming back to John, if we may talk about where the
why he chose to be here.
Because he's here for a short time. You're here every day telling your life story over and over and over again. Let's have some information from him.
Okay,
Where
go
did
ahead, John.
Positivity come from in your life? When did you become Mr. Torch?
I think I've been kind of working on it slowly over the years. I found that there was, in every bit of darkness in my life, I always found that there was some little speck of light. And I also realized that I could help other people find that light. It took me a while to figure that out. Just jumping back to the wrestling days for a moment. And the reason why I do this is because that's kind of where things started. And I started to realize that I potentially did have some worth. Because prior to that, and I was picked on, like I said, a lot. And that really messes with your self-esteem. And, you were talking in the earlier segment about exercising your brain. And there are times when instead of exercising, you need to exorcise. And the thing is, we have to exorcise those voices that are in our head from that have been drilled into us with people telling us that we suck and that we can't do stuff and we're worthless. And you start, those things build on you and you start to really believe them. And so when the coach said to me, you are not going to be able to do anything unless you get your ass in the weight room and start pumping some iron. I want you in that room every single day until you build yourself up. I'm going to see some muscles on you. And so I walk into the weight room in the gym, right? There's all the gorillas in there going on the bench press. Like I'm going to sit there and go, excuse me, it's my turn. Can I just let me borrow that a little bit? Would you hand me that? Just give me the bar. I can't do the weights. Just give me. That wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to get my time on the, with the weights. And I really, to be honest, I didn't have any interest. So I went and I sat in the corner on the only piece of equipment that nobody else was messing with, and that was the leg press. And so I sat there for my hour every day on the freaking leg press on the Universal. And after a while, I'm pumping the whole stack. Now here I am. I weighed less than 100 pounds, and I'm doing, if you remember the old Universal, it had 2 pedals on it, right? On the leg press part, right? The bottom one, which gave you the most leverage, was 450 pounds of weight. And the upper one, if you can do that one, which had less of an anchor point, was 750 pounds. And here I am weighing probably about 105 pounds at this point, and I'm doing the entire stack. My legs got massive, huge. I had these big, bulging, massive Popeye legs and olive oil's upper body. I mean, I look like somebody Frankenstein together, 2 different people. What's that?
We could have been twins, John. You're literally taught this.
So you were talking about, GD, about getting out from under, because you were fast and all that stuff. Well, for me, it wasn't the speed; it was the strength of my legs. Right. I could not be pinned because I could get out from under. I didn't have the upper body to take anybody down. I certainly didn't have the upper body to hold anybody down and pin them. But I'll be damned if I could be pinned. But they started giving me a nickname. They called me the Mighty Mosquito because I was small. I got swatted, and I pretty much sucked. So,
isn't there an advantage to short people? You talk about being 5'3", short people on those leg machines. I remember, and this is like distant memory, like when we first got introduced to like leg press. The short guys had just seemed to be able to do massive amounts of weights, where the taller you were, the more difficult it was, just because of, I don't know, leverage or whatever the situation is. And that's turning a negative into a positive. In life, you think, I'm short, it's all against me, but in some ways, it turns out to be a positive. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And so being acknowledged as the Mighty Mosquito, even though it was done as a tease, I found that I got recognition. Hey, I could bring something to the table in the fact that I'm not going to get pinned. Whatever it was.
Fair. And so now my nickname was Horse. They used to call me Horse.
I don't want to know the reason for that.
But I'm just saying, but there was a guy in our school who because I just like you, I did the entire stack, and
I just figured out why he has an obsession with Mr. Ed. By the way, continue.
So they decided they were going to try to break the record, and the guy, his bones just broke at the kneecap, and it just right up. It was because he was like six.
This is why I always skip leg day.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Everybody that I know who worked out when they were younger, who played sports when they were younger, and who were very athletic, every single one of them has some kind of debilitating injury in their older age.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going, that's why I don't work out, man.
Yeah.
There's so much more to life without having pain left over from an old football injury or whatever.
See, now I don't know how old you are, but I'm 65.
I'm 66.
Okay. So you remember back when pro athletes basically they made like 20,000-30,000 a year, and they had to have like restaurants and car dealerships to make extra, and bars.
He's 66, not 86.
No, that's how it was. The
I think
football
you're talking in
players.
the 50s, like Gil Hodges had to
No,
work
I'm
at
talking.
a
I'm
hardware
talking about
store.
60s and 70s. Like Jim Parker, Hall of Fame, um, was a linebacker for the Colts.
Wow.
He was rich by 70 standards, but he had to have several jobs. Joe Theismann, I don't know how much he was making, but he had to make real money. He had to have his car dealerships and his restaurants and stuff like that.
Prostate pills.
So yeah. So at one point, pro athletes did not make a lot of money, and so but there's a lot of work involved. And when they were trying to get, they were trying to get me to play sports. I said, "There's no way I'm going to go through all of that for that kind of money. It's not worth it."
And now it's like the only way to make money.
Right.
Yeah, but if I had known that there was a future of being a commentator, having the mouth I have, I would have gone into that line of work.
You got a mouth on you, boy.
What that mouth do?
John, what's this thing about monster movies? You guys think about because
yeah. So that was the other part of it when we talked about the superhero thing, and I realized that getting bit by a radioactive spider or whatever was really was not going to happen. It wasn't realistic. I wasn't going to be a cape wearing superhero at any point in my life. But I did find in monster movies, no matter how big and bad and nasty the monster was, the little guy won. And it wasn't always, the big muscle-bound hero who came up with the world-saving ideas, right? And so understanding that, with collaboration and open-mindedness and things like that, you can still come out ahead. And that's where I got inspired, was that I knew that the bullies who were my monsters could be defeated in a lot of different ways without, a full-on face-up confrontation.
Yeah.
And so I was just, when I got out there into the work world and in real life, the non-school life, and started realizing that there were still bullies out there, man. Some of these people never got, their lunch handed to them back in the early days. And so they still believed that was the way to behave. And so I was just determined to create an environment where people could thrive and survive underneath the bullies without letting the bullies win.
Do you now I hate to drag you into the political stuff, but I do this to every guest for some reason. I guess I am just a very politically inclined person. But do you feel, because I feel you mentioned bullies, I feel like we live in a very bully centric society right now, and it's not necessarily just one side. I think we want to we just want to be cruel to each other and just like not just win elections, arguments, debates. We want to beat the other person into submission. We want to see them totally destroyed and humiliated. And like, there's no middle ground here for anything because we live in a world that everybody wants to be the bully. Do you see that, or is that just my negative take on?
What's happening, and I think that goes back to the exorcising parts of our brain, right? Many of us have grown up watching the bullies succeed. And part of our brain sits there and goes, well, that's the way I have to be in order to be successful. And whether or not they like that behavior is another story, but there is a bit of freedom that people find in acting that way. And I don't understand it. I never did understand it. And probably because I was never on the bully side of things.
Right. I grew up.
But for some reason, people feel like if they can live completely unchecked, then that's the way they want to live. And the whole, we swung the pendulum in society sometimes a little too far.
Yeah, I grew up in an era where bullies were demonized. Bullies were the bad guys. Even if you were big and strong, you still you wanted the bully to get his up and come, But it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. It seems like we're celebrating bullies, and really, I could bring it all back to Trump, but it's not Trump's fault. He's just brought it out in people. He gave people permission to be that way.
And that's the unfortunate side of things right now, is that people now have permission to be their ugliest self.
Right. It's a really tough thing. So how do you maintain positivity through all that?
Because I know that deep down inside, there's people like you guys here, who want to fight against that, who want to find the good in people and not the bad in people. We can actually accomplish so much more when we work together. We can accomplish so much more when we have compassion for each other. Because what happens is when you're a bully, you're the only winner, right? And you're not really a winner because you can only go so far. Right? Because there can only be one winner. But when we work together, we can go so much further. That's the whole thing with the torchlight, too. I always say, you don't have to blow out my candle to make yours burn brighter. But if both of our candles were lit, dude, how much more elimination is that? And that goes back to the monster movies. When in the old classic monster movies, when they went after the monster, they grabbed a torch.
Yeah.
That torch was not, and everybody, some people say, oh, the mobs with the torches, that's a bad thing because they're it wasn't the fire, it wasn't the burning. The reason for the torch was for the light, because the things that we fear are the things that are in the dark, things that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And so a bully or a monster cannot really succeed in the full light of day. When they are revealed for what they are, they're not all that scary.
The only problem is nowadays a lot of the bullies have bought the light.
Yeah,
they own the light, and they're saying, because there was a time, because what used to work on the bullies was shame. Okay, and they've reclaimed shame and they've rebranded it so that the things that we used to be able to use to get them passively out of things, like you didn't have to be a bully to beat up a bully to get the bully to stop being a bully. You could just show, say shame on you, and they're like, you're right, I was a dick and I apologize. Now it's like shame on you. It's like shame on me, shame on you for letting me bully you, shame on you for being small and weak.
Coming back to the movie stuff, Revenge of the Nerds was a comedy. I think we're living in a very dark Revenge of the Nerds, where people like Zuckerberg and Musk and all these billionaires who were nerds have taken over the world in a very dark way. It was like, and they were probably victims of bullies.
I was just going to say that.
And now they are like somehow rebelling against that, but taking out on the entire world.
But also the thing about, quote, being nerds is if you're a very smart child, you have these ideas, and a lot of times you say, I have an idea, but because you're small, nobody wants to hear them. Okay, it's like, okay, wait, yeah, later, nerd, later. But if you become a rich nerd, okay, not necessarily even intelligent or smart, because I don't think Elon Musk is that bright, so to speak. Not in the big scheme of things, but he's very powerful. And he had a lot of ideas that probably were poo-pooed away. Now he's like, see this? I'm really rich, and you will hear my ideas, and we will try my ideas, and my ideas will fail, but that's okay because they're my ideas.
Right.
And that's what happened with like Branson and Bezos and even Musk and all the other ones. There's like, I'm rich, now my ideas matter, and you're going to listen to my ideas.
That's exactly what happened. Is that these guys, they took rebounding from being bullied nerds to a different level.
Right.
But I'm going to say something really stupid. All right.
You're in the right place.
Are they really happy?
I don't think so.
There you go. They've got to perform constantly. Nobody wants to be around them.
Yeah, I think
the only reason why people want to be around them is for their money and what they can do for other people.
Yeah, I often say this, that I can't think of any like super rich person who I ever thought of as happy. And you can go Howard Hughes. You can start with Howard Hughes. You can look at Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley. I mean, these people were super wealthy in their time, and almost all of them were just miserable in their life. It says a lot about the love of money.
I want people to want to be around me because I make them feel good, and because they want to be around, and because they want to be around me,
right?
Not because of what I can do for them. I just spent the past 42 years working in government. I retired from that last year, but thank God. But one of the things that I can say is that in 42 years, I stayed away from the politics of government. My whole focus was helping people tell their story and the story of what they did for a living and the work that they did, the services they provided. So, the park ranger or the scientist or the engineer, the people that actually kept programs running, people who were out there doing rescue work, all that kind of stuff. Those are the stories that I was telling, not the political crap.
Right.
And so, understanding that there's so much more to where people are coming from. But when I was in the DC area, I don't want to say this about everybody in the Washington DC area because it's not true. We made some really great friends, but most people don't socialize there. They network.
Right.
So I was going to speak. I was going to speak at an event. I don't know if you've heard of these things. They're called nerd nights. And so they do them in like a lot of the big cities have them. And so picture, what is that show? Big Bang Theory. Yeah. All right. Picture people like that, really like this really wacky intelligence, but they're into like all this pop culture stuff. Well, picture a bunch of these people getting together in a nightclub and then having presentations on just super nerdy topics. I don't know, like, the Star Trek fanfic or whatever, and they would do a presentation on some nerdy topic, and usually with a lot of humor. And these things were super popular. Now, I got asked to speak at one of these things, and I was like, okay. So I went and talked about the effects of caffeine on the aging colon. And see, right away you snicker. And so you say colon and people start to laugh. So I knew that was where my humor piece was going to be. But anyway, we go to this event. My wife and I go in and we get there early and we sit down and we're kind of waiting to see how things are going. And this place gets super packed. I mean, just jam packed with people. So there was 2 extra seats at our table. And we said, here, come and join us. There's extra seats. So these 2 young 20 somethings sit down, barely thank us for letting them sit at our table because there were no more seats left. And they sat there like this on their phone. Yeah. And I swear they were texting to each other.
Probably.
Then, yeah, right. Barely said a word. And so then they introduced me for my turn to go up and talk. And I think the person who preceded me was talking about, I think, vampire lesbians or something. I don't know. You never know what kind of topics are going to come up in these things. So anyways, my turn to talk. And at the time I was working for Homeland Security. I think I was still relatively new there. So because this is a long time ago. But anyway, they mentioned that I was at Homeland Security. So the girl sitting next to my wife, sitting there typing away on her. And all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, he works for Homeland Security?" And my wife said, "Yes, he does." "Oh, is he a political appointee?" "No, he's a federal employee." "Oh." And that was such an eye opener for the mindset, right? It's all about what you can do for me. It's not about, who you are and are you a nice person to know.
Yeah,
it's about the connections.
I grew up around politics, and so by the time I was like 9 or 10 years old, I'd had like a heavy dose of the DC environment through my mother. And one of the things I learned like 4 things. I divided people in DC into 4 groups of people. The first group is the people who just can't help you. You want to, you go to them and they just can't help you. Then there's a group that they don't want to help you. They can, they just don't want to help you. Then the third group was the people who want to help you. They just have no idea how. They really want to help, but they're no good at it. And then there's the fourth group, which is the people who can and will help you. And that was how I divided DC up. When I was, by the time I think I was 9 or 10 years old, and that's it. That's my idea of what DC was like.
Yeah.
There were about 3 of those last category.
Last night I was working on a real estate podcast, editing a real estate podcast for somebody, and they were talking about something very similar about networking, and there are people, and they basically broke down things like you just said, like people who can help you and people. But I think the idea, there's a difference between networking and building relationships, and I think networking is all about how can people be useful to us rather than building genuine relationships of how can we be of help to each other and actually support each other. And there's a whole culture around networking, but there isn't a whole culture around building true relationships that are beneficial to everybody, right? It's a very
There are
odd.
some that are out there. There are some that are out there. I mean, some of the groups that I have affiliated with are all about people that are heart centered and like minded, and whether or not we've got a business opportunity for you, we can be supportive. We can refer each other. We can just be there to commiserate about things. And sometimes that's all we need is just somebody to bitch with.
Right.
I mean, seriously, that's the greatest benefit we have is somebody to bitch with.
Well, look at me. I'm getting all white again.
That's what the purpose of that's why I get my hair done. It's not because I need I could do my own hair if I wasn't too lazy, but it's someone who that's it.
Positivity.
Absolutely.
I have been, listen, I'm a pretty negative person, pessimist and all that stuff, but I get over bitched at about my negativity towards people who just like the law of attraction and all this. All you have to do is think positive thoughts, and I think we get caught up in this. Um, you have to be positive in all situations and just be like falsely positive and full of positive energy. And I think that's in denial. You can't see light unless there's dark. You need both in your world. And
Absolutely.
and I think there's a big part of the positivity movement that gets lost in that, and people become addicted, or I don't know, addicted, but uh just really obsessed with this idea of positivity. How do you find balance in what you talk about?
The thing is, too, there's a difference between being positive and being blind to reality, right? There and we talk about, yeah, there's a lot of darkness and we can wallow in it all we want. When life deals you shit, you can wallow in the stench or you can turn it into fertilizer. There's a lot of different ways to look at things. Um, what I have found is that it's okay to feel the pain of a situation, but not to wallow in it, and to find that there is something, not necessarily something good, but sometimes there's a way to be able to deal with it. When a close relative dies, right? It's a terrible loss. When my mom passed relatively recently, it was a terrible thing, and it's really hard to overcome. And I can sit there and just go on and on and on about the loss and feel that over and over again. Or we could remember the funny times, the different things that happened over the years. And if you think about it, you go to any funeral, right? The times it seems inappropriate, but all of a sudden, like somebody in the side of the room will just start bursting out laughing because they were sharing stories. Remember when grandma did this? Remember when that happened? It's those funny stories that we remember. It's that little light that helps us to heal and to move on and to remember people. And by retelling those stories and remembering, good times, or remembering people for those things, finding things to laugh at, that's how we move on.
Right.
And so that's where the positivity comes from, is finding those things to hold on to that provide us with an opportunity to grow and to learn and to move beyond the painful times.
Yeah. I think during the 80s, when all the self-help books came out, positivity, the idea of thinking positive thoughts became just very easy to think of that as the solution, and you don't have to put any action to it. All you have to do is just believe things, think good thoughts, and things will.
Yeah,
I
there's always something to find that can help you. One of the biggest things that I have learned, and being the kid who was picked on by bullies, and then, now I'm not the skinny little kid. Now I'm a fat old guy, right? So I went from the undersized youth to the double X Adonis, and 5X or 6X if we're buying clothes from China. But what what I have found is that you've got to learn to laugh at yourself and just not take life so damn seriously. Don't take yourself so seriously. Why do we get insulted by things all the time? If we can laugh at ourselves, we take away the ability for other people to laugh at us and to ridicule us. So I was on a plane, and I love telling this story. I was on a plane, and when you're flying by yourself, you always wonder who the hell you're going to sit next to, right? And like, oh, please, not the screaming baby, not the big football guy who's going to squish me into the wall or whatever. And so here I am, I'm on the flight, and I get in the window seat, and I'm watching people come by, and here comes this stunningly beautiful woman, and she's traveling alone, and she sits in the aisle seat in my row, and nobody got in the middle, which is an automatic conversation starter. Look at us, we got some elbow room. Boy, we lucked out. So we start chatting, and she's not only physically beautiful, she's got this amazing accent. And as it turns out, she was of Indian heritage, and she was born and raised in Bali and spent a lot of time in Australia. So there's like this musical brilliance to her voice. And as we're chatting, she tells me that she's 30 years old, and her father is trying to push her to get married. And he keeps setting her up on dates, blind dates. And one of them recently, she shows up, and the guy turns around and looks at her and goes, "Oh, hi." And so they had a nice dinner, and she went home, and she walks in, and her father, before she even can say a word, her father says, "Don't tell me he's gay, isn't he?" And she goes, "Yeah, Dad. Why are you setting me up with gay? You're not going to get grandchildren this way." And so I looked at this beautiful woman, and I said, I don't understand. Is it part of your culture, your family tradition, that your father has to set you up on dates? Because you're stunning. I would imagine you've got to fight people off. And she said, "Oh no." She goes, "We're very westernized. I'm allowed to find my own dates." I said, "Then why are you doing this with the blind dates thing?" And she says, "Well, I'm really very shy. I won't talk to men."
Dang.
Yeah, that makes you feel good.
Wait a minute. You've been talking to me for 4 hours now. And she said, "Yeah, but if you were some young, good-looking guy I was interested in, I would never be able to talk to you."
Oh, I'm not sure if that hurts my heart or my penis.
I know, exactly. But you know what? When she realized what came out of her mouth, she was mortified. Yeah. I thought it was funny as hell. And she's like, "I didn't mean that." I said, "Well, yes, you did, but it's okay." Wow. And so we land. And the first thing I do is I call my wife and I tell her the story. And she says, "It's nice to know my hubby is so safe." Wow. And that hurt. I like to be thought of as just a little bit of dangerous. So, yeah. I mean, really, I know we're going to run out of time, but I do want to say, if there's anything at all that you can take out of life, it is look for the humor, look for the light in the darkness. And if you need help, reach out. I'm a speaker and a coach, and I try to help people find that light in the darkness whenever I can.
JohnVerico.com is in the description. It's clickable. It's going across the screen there. People on the radio, it's very easy. Verico is spelled VERRICO .com. JohnVerico.com. Just before I'll let you go, because this has been on my mind recently because of the LA fires and because people are celebrating, depending on which side of the political thing you are, and people are celebrating the pain and suffering of others. And I've been saying for a long time, we have an empathy crisis in our culture. Do you think there is any way to cultivate, and I know empathy, it's not something you teach, but can we cultivate a culture of empathy, and how does that how do we begin to do that? You talk about torch and spreading your light, and rather than you putting out somebody else's light to make your light seem brighter. But this idea of empathy, can we cultivate it and make it something that people gravitate towards?
I will say this. There's an ancient proverb that says, if you live long enough, everything will happen to you. Which kind of could be a sucky reason to stick around. But it means at some point in your life, you'll be doing well, sometimes not so well, right? At different times in your life, you'll be facing different things. And sometimes things will be in your favor and sometimes not. You'll be hungry, you'll be full, you'll have money, you'll need money. In some chapter of your life, you'll be the hero. In another chapter, you may be the victim. And in yet another chapter, you might be the villain in somebody else's story. And so the whole thing of all of this is you don't know. Everybody is going through this in their life, this weird conglomerate of things that happen to them. You don't know what's going on in the background. But the same way they don't know what's going on in your background. They don't know what's going on in your life. So if we just treat each other with just have a little bit more empathy and understanding, because there's going to be times when you're going to need that empathy. You're going to be the victim. And the last thing you want is somebody laughing at you, taking advantage of you, putting you down, or worse, like these jackasses who just got arrested for attempting to loot in the evacuated areas in LA.
Wow.
There are people out there who are just plain evil and will take advantage of others. And at some point they're going to find themselves in a position where they're going to need the empathy of somebody else. So if we remember that, if you remember the fact that you might need help someday, just let that turn on that little bit of light for you in the background.
Very cool. Well, thanks for being here, John.
Thank you so much. I do want to throw out one thing. There's a book coming out within the next few days. It's called The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Abundance Quotes. I recommend people check it out. I am considered a co-author in there. I've contributed to it. It's 365 Days of Abundance. But just understanding what people have, over 300 authors have put in stuff in there about how to find abundance in your life, no matter what you're facing.
Is there a dedicated link, or they go to your website, johnverrico.com, and find it there?
They can find it on johnverrico.com. The book will be coming out on Amazon. It'll come out first as an ebook, as a Kindle book.
If you can remember, send me the link and I'll add it to the description as soon as it's available. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. As soon as it comes out, I will send you that link.
Excellent. Thanks. Have a great day, and thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
You too. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Take care, buddy.
Interesting, that idea that everything that can happen will happen if you live long enough. Come back to, I watched Interstellar the other night, and the kid's name was Murph, and she was thinking Murphy's Law meant that everything bad will happen. And Matthew McConaughey's character says to her, no, we named you Murph because everything that can happen will happen. Not everything bad that can happen. Everything that can happen will happen. Just interesting. Just a little throwback there. You guys feel more positive? You feel like spreading your torchlight? I know Steven does that all the time. I see him on Facebook mostly, lighting other people's torch a little bit. Does it come back to you? Does it come back to you?
No, hardly ever.
See, this is a problem, I think, because I see a lot of people who believe that by stamping on somebody else's light, I'm going to make myself brighter. This is putting somebody else down is the way to lift myself up.
Yeah, sometimes people aren't putting you down; they're just ignoring you altogether.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is that people don't stomp on my light by any means; they just don't acknowledge it, which is what it is, I guess. But
I got to run, gentlemen. I'll see you later.
All right, run. Steven, you got to run?
I don't ever run.
Why not?
It's out of my nature.
Is there a problem? I'm sorry.
I'm
being mean. That's being mean. That's stomping on your light, isn't it?
That's all right. It is what it is.
Well, peace, Ron. If you're still around, I'll see you tonight.
Why will you see him tonight?
Mr. Tongue, open mic.
Oh, it's still going on, eh?
Yeah, there's no reason to stop it. It's a
I
success
thought it
story.
stopped on Monday night. I thought there was like, wasn't one of them? Didn't one of them?
Well,
No,
since
there was the holidays. There was like
No,
Christmas
there
and
was
there was
one
the
room
snow.
or something. I'm not going back too far, like 6 months maybe.
Oh no, you're thinking of the not Mr. Tongue, the doghouse. That was on a
Oh, the
Tuesday night.
doghouse. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, the doghouse at the kennel. That's the no
So
more.
Did you guys see in the news where Shane Gillis set a new comedy show attendance record at Frost Bank Center?
No.
Yeah, he drew a crowd of 16,868, which surpassed the previous record of 16,566 by Dave Chappelle in 2023.
Wow, he's beating Chappelle now. Is there a rivalry there? I mean, the comedians get like,
The last I heard was Chappelle was friends with everybody in the Austin scene, so
wow.
I don't know. I don't know.
Did you perform this weekend? No, you didn't.
No, I have I'll be at the mic Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life is very unperforming for me. I'm used to performing every week. It's been kind of a tough time leaving the band. Sometimes living by principles can be it has its
Tough.
consequences. There's a
Yeah,
cost to it.
it can be tough and it can be lonely. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's kind of where like I'm at with the performing is because I'm trying to reprioritize and get my finances in check so I can travel and do shows. I can't afford to travel and do shows right now. Like outside of the potential New York show, that's it. I can't afford to be driving 2-3 hours for nothing. So
yeah.
And that's where it's kind of biting me is because there's only 2 clubs in town. One has an open mic once a month, the other's once a week, but I'm not on the list every week, so you have to hope you get your name drawn. So
How
it's just
far is Mr. Tongues from you, GD? How long a drive you got tonight?
About 90 minutes.
Wow, that's dedication, dude. To go to an open mic, the 90 minutes for an open mic. Oh, I can't imagine I having that kind of.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like last year, I went to probably a little over 40 open mics that were more than an hour and a half away for nothing. And I just could not do that this year.
I bitch heavily about driving 90 minutes for a $300 payday.
Well, and that's the thing is now that I won't travel for nothing, I'm not getting calls. And the couple of times that I was offered to go out of town for money, it was like, hey, will you drive 3 hours for $50? No, I won't.
Right.
It's gonna cost me that just for gas, let alone food. Like, no, I'm good. I can't do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to take my hat off to you. I'm not wearing a hat, but if I was wearing a hat, I'd take my hat off to you. It's 90 minutes for an open mic.
Now, how much of that has to do with you loving comedy, and how much of that is you just
inspired by that?
Being loyal to Ron?
Well, let's get this straight. Ron and I have no loyalty to each other. Ron already has his favorite. Ron has his favorite black guy. It's not me. So I have no loyalty to Ron. Okay, no. Actually, no. It's actually there is. I'm in a place where there are not a lot of comedians that want to work with me or willing to work with me. Ron is one of the few people that will book me from time to time. Now he hasn't booked me for a few months now, maybe I don't know. But the thing is,
he found Josh.
Well, this is even before Josh.
Josh was the way.
Yeah, so even before Josh. But one of the things that I believe in what Ron was trying to do, which is, well, Ron had when he started the Doghouse, it didn't have like a lot of comedians coming up there. And so I try to be supportive of venues that are trying to support the art of comedy. Okay. And so Ron was doing that, and Ron works hard at it, and so I appreciate people who work hard at what they do, and who are trying to help the community. But also, like me, Ron is somewhat of an outcast. So there's some, fondness for him in that regard.
He's an outcast, really?
Somewhat of one. Depends. See, Ron doesn't. Okay, I'm not going to speak for him. You can ask him about this, but I'm not a very click-oriented person, and comedy is a very click-oriented business, and I am click repellent. So, so I don't fit into clicks. You know, I won't kiss ass.
That's my issue here. Is I don't. Here's the thing. I'm not ostracized. I just don't click up well because I don't like to talk shit about people.
Oh, I was ostracized.
And so because I'm not clicky, I don't get included in everything. Which you know, I mean I guess I could remedy that, but I mean I don't, that's not my personality. That's how I survived high school. I got along with everybody. I didn't click up. But I got invited to everything. So no, I don't know. But
I was friends with a booker, and I mean we were friends, and he was booking shows, and he was one time he was talking and trying to book a show with me sitting at the table with him, and I asked him, I said, "I'm right here. You're looking for a headliner. I'm right here." And no, I said, "You're looking for a feature. I'm right here." He goes, "Well, everybody knows that you won't feature for anybody. You will only take headlining jobs." And I said, "Who's everybody?" He goes, "All the bookers. They all know that." I said, "No." I said, "I've been reaching out to bookers for years saying I'll take no feature. You know, the only thing that I turned down in the beginning was hosting jobs. And that's because I was not a good host. And I had to build that. I didn't have host mentality. I had a give me the mic, let me finish the show mentality. And I'm so good.
See, that's been part of my issue, especially with the local scene. Is everyone wants you when there was more of a local scene, was they wanted you to start out with hosting, and the thing is, I can't host a lot of places because I need help getting up and down off the stage, and nobody's gonna put me up and off the stage 30 times in a show. So
yes. See, I didn't need help getting up on the stage. I need help getting off. But see, I had a stroke of good luck at headlining, and it was before.
Never good luck.
I had a stroke of good luck. I was supposed to have been a feature. The headliner didn't show up. This is like I'd only been doing comedy for like a year and a half at that point. So you're not supposed to be a headliner that soon. And so, but I started off writing I started writing my first 90-minute set, literally during the first 10 minutes of me being a comedian. Right after I did my first on-stage performance, I started writing. I said, I think I can do this comedy thing. And I started writing a 90-minute set, a 90-minute show right there. And so I was supposed to feature. The headliner didn't show up. They were in a bind, and they said, who can headline? Who can do 30 minutes? And I said, I can. And I was a virtual unknown. And they said, well, we're desperate. You can do, I said, I can do 30. And so I did. And I fucking killed, and then I got the headline there. I got the headline there 5 out of 6 weeks. It was 4 out of 5 weeks I headlined there. And and each show was great. Great show. And so I started asking people, I started looking for headlining gigs because I got to be a headliner. I wanted to do more headlining. That makes sense. So I started looking for headlining gigs. But because I'd only been doing comedy for 18 months at that time, they're like, get the fuck out of here. Who do you think you are? Asking to be a headliner at 18 months. And I said, I can headline though. The thing is, I didn't understand the difference between being a headliner with the name and a headliner with the skill. I had the skill to do 30 minutes, 40 minutes, eventually 90 minutes, but I didn't have the name recognition where someone would call me a headliner.
Yeah, Tim, that's a crucial part of it. My experience with, because in the late 70s and early 80s, I paid my dues as an opening act. The band I was with opened for major headliners, rock stars in arenas and stadiums, opened for many, many very famous people. And then somewhere along the line, like 2000, 2012, 2013, we had been playing with what became the Rockin' 45s for a good dozen years or so or more, and we were asked to go on first for a local band, a local cover band. I was like, "Are you kidding me? I've opened for," and I went on naming people I opened for. I'm not opening for this local band, and people were like really outraged. Like, how could you take that? I was like, if you're closing the show, if you're opening the show, it should be for somebody with name recognition. I don't want to be an opener for a local cover band. It's just it's beneath me at this point. 40 years ago, I did my time being an opener for Carlos Santana and Average White Band, and just, I can go on and on with people that I toured with or was an opening act for. I just didn't want to do it for people who they were on the same level as me. I can't see myself as being an opening act for people who are on the same level as me. My wife is calling me. I have to take this. You guys talk amongst yourselves before.
As I was saying, Stephen, as far as like the comedy scene around here, when I started out, before I became the quote in my mind a headliner, before I got my first headlining gigs, the other comedians, I mean, the things that they would write about me were so complimentary. I mean, and they didn't just say these things. That like there was a guy named Joe something. I was trying out a new routine. It was the first time I was trying to do the Reverend thing in front of other, at an open mic. The Reverend had always been a radio character for me. I never tried to do him live. So I'm doing this bit, and this guy writes. When I look at the time code, he was writing on Facebook about me while I was doing my routine. He goes, "Yeah," and he's writing. I think I'm watching the most unique routine and funny that I've ever seen at an open mic. And I'm like, okay, an open mic is where you try out your stuff, But, and I was getting that, and almost all these guys are running their own rooms now, their own shows and stuff. There was one of them. Again, I'm not gonna mention him by name because he's never tried to book me, and I don't want to like shame him or something. Because like, if you thought I was so good, don't you think I've gotten better over the years and not worse? But and he says, "You're not a comedian. You're a one-man show." Okay, that's high praise, I think, or unless he thinks the one-man show is bad. One was that he says I was too good to be opening for the local talent. I should be headlining for myself. And this came from a professional touring comedian who has a TV show, so I've,
Was it Carlos Mencia? Because he's known to lie.
No.
Carlos would never say that about another comedian.
No.
He thinks it's him and only him. He's got the biggest ego. Even after Rogan killed his career, he's still like all ego.
And there was another guy open for touring professional comedian, headliner, and he was talking about how great I was. Because matter of fact, because we did back-to-back shows, and the first show, like I said, he had never heard of me, and it was just him and myself and the host. The host did his thing, and then I opened, and then he did like 40. I did like 20 minutes, and he did like an hour or something like that. Or I did 20 minutes, he did 45, something like that. And so we did back-to-back shows, 2 shows in one night. And so the first show, he had never heard of me. I came on and I did so well that he said he had to change his routine because he didn't think it was strong enough to follow me. And so then we did the next show, the second set. I did almost the exact same routine I did before. And his second one, you could see he punched it up. Like he came on super, super, super strong. He's like, I'm not going to let this rookie outshine me. And so, and then afterwards, he praised me, said how I made him, like in that short period of time, made him want to be a better comedian. And then I decided that I wanted to do cruise ship work. And so I reached out to him and he would not respond back to me. It's like, no, I'm not helping you. No, now you're getting into my line of work. And no, you're not. No. You know, I said, but you thought I was funny. He's like, shut up, get the fuck away. If you don't call me again, you little rat bastard. You're funny for landline. You're funny for on land, but you're coming into the seas. No, you're not coming into the seas. You stay on land. Yes, sir. Now, so there are a lot of the comedians before I headlined, they said great things about me. They all wanted to work with me. But once I
find it
decided
hard
that
to
I
believe
wanted to
that
headline,
anybody would say great things about you. Get
I
one.
know.
Get him on the line. Call him up.
Well, call Ron. No, I'm just
He
teasing.
just said he's not. He
Ron
won't
says the
respond.
worst shit about you.
Yeah, he does. Actually, the funny because there was one time Ron had he was booking a show and he needed a headliner. And he looked at me. I think he just volunteered the information. He goes, GD, I want you to know. He says, I'm not. I didn't ask you because this group is very rowdy and they're very impatient. He goes, and I don't think they have the. He says, I think you work too methodical or something like that. For this crowd. I don't. I think they would try to eat you alive before you win them over. And so he didn't want that to happen. And the thing is, he just got to see what I showed him at the open mics, and that's the problem is you do open mic stuff and nobody gets to see what you're capable of doing.
Well, see, there's also a flip side of that is too. Like, let's say you try out some stuff and that's the only good stuff you have, and then you put on a really good open mic show, and then you get booked to go up, and then you're like, you show up unprepared.
Well, there's a guy who's again another booker in the area. And I did his open mic like 5 weeks in a row. And each time I did the open mic, I did a different 5-minute set. I didn't bring the same material to the same audience back to back. If I were to work on a set, I'd go to like I'd go to 5 different open mics to try different audiences. I didn't bring it back to the same place. And so I did like 5, different routines, 5 different open mics. And so he was looking for someone to do 7 minutes at one of his, professional shows. And I said, I want to try out for one of your shows. And he goes, I've seen you 5 times and you're very funny, but I've never seen you do the same thing twice. So I'm not convinced you have 7 minutes. So here's the deal. He's seen me 5 times doing 5-minute sets. That's 25 minutes. I'm very funny, but he doesn't think I have 7 minutes. That's the logic there, So I finally got to open a couple of. Actually, I got to do one of his. He and I were on the same show. Somebody else had booked the show. Another booker who wouldn't book me, but he was out there. He was not there, so somebody else booked the show for him because he was like on vacation, and it was like a regular routine thing, a regular show. That was done. He did it once a month, but he was on vacation. He couldn't do it that week, that time. So the person who was in charge immediately reached out to me. He goes, GD, I want you on the show. I said, great, okay, great. I said, does so-and-so know? He goes, no, and he doesn't have to know. So they put me on the show, and the person who followed me was the other booker from the other show who doesn't like me. And to this day, my wife really can't stand him because every time he comes up behind me, he spends like the first minute of his routine trying to talk down or take jabs at me once I'm off the stage. He does, can you believe this GD guy? He blah, 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 blah. And he was always like, he misquote my material. He'd get it wrong, stuff like that. So, like I said,
I am confused about your use of the term booker because for me, booker means booking agent. Or are you talking about like independent producers who have their own shows who put you on their shows? Or not booking agents, right? Because booking
right,
agents,
right, exactly. People who produce their own shows and they book the comics on them for those shows.
Yeah,
not a booking agent. I don't have a booking agent.
It's so weird because the worlds are similar in some ways, but very different in other ways. Because the money element is confusing to me because I would not be involved in booking if I weren't taking, and I am not, but if I weren't getting a percentage of the money, and why would I book somebody on something that they aren't getting paid for? It's just like what's in it for me? Why am I doing this? it's hard for me to wrap my head around like the whole.
Well, I think part of the mentality that I had is because I started so late at 55. I started doing comedy at 55. Well, um, I I understood that it took a long time to be really good at the craft. I thought I was funny, but I didn't think I was like professional material. I had that self-awareness, and I knew it would take years and years to get to that point. And I knew that I would never live long enough to get to the point where I'd be as good, so good that people would recognize my talent and recognize my name. I wouldn't live long enough. So I put fame out of the picture at the very beginning. It's like it's like you're playing in a band and you have this really hot guitar player who's good, but he thinks he should be like playing stadiums, and you're like, no, you're good, but you're not stadium good. You're cover band good, you know. And that's how I was. I was like cover band good. I'm not, and even now I'm good, and I will give a good performance. I can't fill a stadium, but if I had a stadium that was already full, I would not disappoint. There's a difference. I could not get them in, but I'm not going to run them out.
Right. Yeah, the money thing is what is like. I don't know. I think working for nothing, and I understand that you want to work out new material and stuff and need a stage for that. But I can't imagine somebody saying, "I got a gig for you." See, whatever much time you got to fill, and you got to get there. It doesn't pay. Why are you calling me? Why? What made you think I would take that? I mean, I'm not leaving my house if there's not money in it for me. I'm sorry. It's not about the money, but the money is. I mean, I'm not doing it for nothing at this point. I'm not for anything. It's just weird. Comedy is a weird fucking art form.
I mean, I like when I laid down that I wouldn't travel or do shows for free.
When I
That
was
fire
young,
traveling. One booker took me serious, even though he books me in town. He still makes sure I at least get 40, $50 at least for just a 5-10 minute drive. So,
see,
I mean, at least he
good
tried.
guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
You got to at least pay gas money. I mean, come on, folks. I got to get there. I got to, for me, I always said I get paid to move the equipment. I don't get paid to play. Moving the equipment is enough that I should
Well, a lot of comedians don't have equipment to move. I do. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the show. Yeah, because there's some things like if I'm doing a private show, I have to know my own PA system, my own guitar and amps, and
Carl's
my
here.
own.
Did anybody hear Carl get announced there?
No,
I didn't hear him get announced.
What the fuck is with this woman?
But I was running my mouth. She could have announced it when I was running, and I don't listen and talk at the same time very well.
Where the fuck have you been, Carl?
Hello, Carl.
You've got a woman telling you what's going on back there?
Well, there's this voice. It's like I want to.
We should never have given them shoes.
This voice
terrible.
that comes on and says, "Carl has arrived." But
Marvelous.
Carl
I know you ended. I thought I'd just come in and say hi.
Yeah.
Money. The one other thing in comedy as well that's common is that someone will be the king of the city, so they'll book like 20 shows, take all the money, and not pay any of the comics. Or barely pay them. That's pretty common as well.
And they have their friends that they want to put on those shows, and some of their friends aren't very funny, but they're friends.
Yeah, that's part of why the scene here died. Was I think the people that were booking it were paying people practically nothing and taking all the money, and in return they weren't getting the best performances, and a lot of these places just stopped doing mics and shows in general.
I think the podcasting bros type of thing lends into because people can be funny when they're hanging out, but that's different from being
Conversationally funny isn't stand-up funny.
Yeah, I call it cafeteria funny, like being in high school and you can make everybody laugh at your table.
Right.
And see, the thing is,
guy on my show because he makes me laugh in the cafeteria, but then he gets up and people in the audience don't get the cafeteria jokes.
well, yeah, it's like,
right.
Yeah, I don't get it. People, oh God, it's rough.
It's funny. I was not a comedian back then. I was basically there was a friend of mine who was putting on a show at Howard University, and they had a very low budget. You know, they
Howard, what do you expect?
after spending the money on the band and the venue and stuff, they're like, I think we have like $30. Actually, they had like $150 or something like that left. So he decided he wanted to book me as a comedian. And again, I was like in my 20s or something. I think I don't. This was when the year that Scarface and Taxi Cab and Michael Jackson had caught his hair on fire. It was that year.
1957?
No, it's more like 83,
87?
84.
Yeah, it was around that time. That was the year. I had, like I said, I was not a comedian. I was a musician. Actually, I was actually, even then I was like a retired musician. My band had broken up, and I just had like sunk back into the woodwork. So a friend of mine said they needed a comedian, and he reached out to me. He goes like, $150, you can perform at Howard University. And I'm like, okay. I said, look, I'm not a comedian. He goes, yeah, but we can't afford comedians. He goes, but you're funny, So I'm like, okay. So I took it very seriously. I wrote a routine, and I went out and did my research. I thought I did my research. The hot movie, at that time, DC Cab and Scarface had both, they were like both out in the theaters at the same time. And
does this story get better?
Fuck you. Yeah. So so I didn't have a lot of money, so I decided to go see Scarface. And I went to see Scarface, and I wrote my routine based on the movie Scarface. I had the impressions down. I stuck a tape recorder. I stuck a tape recorder into the theater to get the voices. I did the impressions. I go to do this, and my friend Larry, who went with me, says, Glenn, you're not black people funny. You're going to be at Howard University. Black people, you're not black people funny. And Larry was white, and I said, I'm funny. He goes, no, black people don't think you're funny. White people think you're funny.
Wow.
So I go to perform at Howard University, and the first thing I did is I make fun of Michael Jackson and his hair getting on fire. Oh my God, no! They turned on me, and I said, okay, I'll do the Scarface thing. And I said, okay, how many people went to see Scarface? There was like 298 black people. None of them went to see Scarface. Not one. And I said, what did y'all go see? They said, DC Cab. That was the movie, DC Cab. And I went, fuck, you got to be kidding me.
I never even heard of DC Cab.
It's because you didn't go to a black university.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
DC Cab. I'm going to have to look that one up.
It had. I think it was Queen Latifah was in it, maybe. Mr. T was definitely in it. I can't remember what other black people were in it, but
yeah. Carl, you ever see Interstellar?
Yeah. I didn't have the same concerns you had.
Oh, you're muted.
What?
Carl's muted.
Andy was being racist. Yeah, I've seen Interstellar, and I was just looking at DC Cabcast. You've got Mr. T, written by Joel Schumacher.
So did you like Interstellar? I mean, you've heard my review of it, which is like give it no stars. But
I did not hear a review, but I do like it.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you get past? Because as a beer drinker, especially, they're drinking beer. Now there's nothing but corn. Everybody's just growing corn. There's nothing.
No, you're assuming that everybody's only growing corn. I don't know. See, I don't remember getting that. I remember that maybe because the country again is very regional. Like some places can grow corn, some people can grow oranges, some people you can't grow oranges everywhere, but you can grow them in Florida and California, maybe Texas. You can't. So maybe there are other parts of the country that can still grow other things. And if you have corn, you can have cows and pigs, right? Because they eat corn.
Well, you can make alcohol with corn, though.
Yeah,
exclusively. Like a pig could not survive on corn alone. Neither could a cow. I mean, corn doesn't have a whole lot of nutritional value, but it just surprised me that these guys are sitting around drinking beer out of bottles. But the whole world is Dust Bowl crazy. And
we also don't know how long they've been preparing for it. I mean, these are scientists, right? They may have known the end was coming. They said, I was more interested in the science itself. their daily lives and stuff. I was interested in the science itself and poking holes in that thing.
Right.
So it was okay.
You knew all the characters in the movie were just surviving on corn and corn alone. And like I could just imagine what somebody who was only eating corn would look like after a couple of months.
Corn can be used in place of barley in the brewing process, so it's possible to make beer from corn. People
Wow,
have
look
asked
at
this
you
before.
with the beer info.
Yeah, I've gone
Wow.
into the research. Well, one of the first things you're gonna figure out, you're gonna need booze, right? When the world kind of ends, you're gonna need booze still. People will kill each other a lot faster without booze.
Yeah. And there are so many plants.
Subtitles though, they're drinking beer because they're using corn as a substitute for barley.
But there's so many plants that like weeds are like almost indestructible. Okay, so even if you can grow corn, there are also a lot of plants that are weeds that are edible as well. And like dandelions are weeds, but you can make wine. Was it wine or is it moonshine out of dandelions?
Something, yeah. I think
moonshine.
Yeah, so you can do the things. You just have to know. You just have to science to quote Matt Damon in The Martian. You just have to science the fuck out of it.
Right. All right. It just seemed to me there was so many fucking holes, though. I mean,
if I ever watch it again, I'll try to watch it with the same disdain that you have to see if I come up with the same theories. But
Yeah. And the idea of paying taxes, like nobody's working. And where do you and who are you paying the taxes to? It doesn't seem like there's any government here involved in this. So there was just so many things like that. Kids still going to school. NASA working in a farm field where nobody knows that they're there. Where they're getting money to build rockets and do all the scientific research if there's no government and
you need money.
So again, we don't know how long this problem has been. So they may have said, we see this coming and we're going to set aside this money for this project so that we can, we know that we're going to have to look for another planet, because you don't just find another planet. You send out probes and all this other crap, which is what they did. They sent out probes to likely planets, and that's how they knew where to go to look. They had different teams.
Wormhole.
So like I said, I was more interested in like the science stuff of it, and at the same time, I think there was like another movie. Was it Gravity, which was out there, another space disaster movie. So there's a few space disaster movies. Hollywood does this. Somebody comes up with a script idea and they go, "Well, Sony is making a space movie. We better make a space movie." So you have like 5 or 6 space movies coming out around the same time.
Armageddon and Deep Impact coming out.
Yeah.
Armageddon was a little more believable, like they were landing on a comet to blow it up with nuclear bombs, right?
That could have been the first one. And then everybody says, well, we can't do that. They're doing that, so let's do this, and let's do this. And then you get further away from the original idea so you don't plagiarize it or something.
The truck was an enigma to me, because the guy was driving a 57 Ford truck or something. It's like, where are you getting gas for this thing?
Maybe it's battery assist. Maybe, I don't know.
Corn gas.
Corn
Everything's corn.
Oh,
ethanol. Ethanol.
Homemade ethanol, I guess. I don't know. It just bothered me. I didn't get.
Well, moonshine. Some moonshine is strong enough to run a car.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go. So
I know I know that from a science project in high school.
So what do you got first? You got anything first before we get out of here? Say something.
Not much at all. Not much at all. I was just thinking about the only thing I could think about the LA fires was wouldn't conspiracy theorists normally say that it's the Illuminati that did it, but isn't this burning the Illuminati?
Well, the Illuminatis are all Democrats, right?
I think it's just the Hollywood pedophile elite, and aren't they being burnt to death right now?
Well, Mel has said it was the Democrats are doing it to basically get rid of the rich people and put up poor housing. So they're just going to.
And all of those people that live out there, not all of them are rich. Some of them are just upper middle class. Some of them are just I can believe me. I've had friends who moved out to Hollywood to be actors, and they were living like 7 to an apartment. So
oh yeah.
So you can have 12, 13, 14 actors living in one house. And they're not rich. They're just pooling their resources, eating oodles of noodles, using all their money to get to auditions and stuff. Doesn't make them rich.
Some of those will overdose in a bath before they make it, though.
Now,
my friend lives in Venice. You know the geography of LA, and that's from her apartment. So that's the fire by night.
Wow, pretty.
I guess it's only a couple of miles, really, from like Palisades and stuff.
Yeah. State Farms, like 3 months to 6 months ago, canceled 75% of all the insurance policies, homeowner insurance policies. Fire.
Yeah, I was hearing that people had their policies cancelled like in the last couple of months.
Like they must have known something was coming, right?
Well, they were running out of money long before that too. I mean, because it's not like because FAIR has been around for some time. FAIR is the state insurance default company, But what FAIR can do, and a lot of companies, I don't know how a lot of state insurance policies work, but if FAIR runs out of money, they actually have the ability to go to insurance companies to get what they're lacking.
Wow. I just took a survey about insurance companies, and State Farm was all over it. State Farm it still is my car insurance company, and it was totally negative. I didn't know why. I couldn't imagine why this thing was, but this makes sense now. They are the main villains in this California thing, canceling.
We know, and I just in, the CEO of State Farm just bought 3 Kevlar vests.
And
not that I'd recommend it, but it would be funny if somebody set fire to the CEO of those insurance companies.
That would be kind of ironic justice, huh?
Yeah. They moved the LA Rams Vikings playoff game to State Farm Stadium in Arizona.
Oh, there it is. There's the motive right there.
To one football game.
And also, I know it's resources, and I know exactly why, but it still bugs me that most houses in Hurricaneville or Fireville are made of wood in the US.
Yeah.
I know it's resource. I know it's because you can't build brick buildings everywhere because of whatever reason.
But also, sometimes it's like there were a lot of houses in California that they were put in places where you would say I would never build there, but nobody heard of mudslides. It's like you don't build a house inside of a cliff if you know that there's going to be a mudslide. You build the house inside of a cliff because you're thinking 30 years down the road. Mudslide? What's a mudslide? That's a drink.
We have the same situation here. Dune Road in the Hamptons is some of the most expensive real estate in the country, but if major storms come, every one of those houses gets wiped out all the time.
Yeah, I heard they have to build like earthquake foundations along some of those houses in LA, right? So you have these massive foundations, and then they'll put a power line outside your house that when it gets windy, it blows over and sets fire to all the dry brush that's in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but that wasn't but dry brush wasn't a concern at the time. So it's like I said, people are in a lot of these policies, or almost all these policies, are set up by politicians who are reactionary, not visionary.
Yeah.
So they go like, okay, when they built this house, they just like, oh, we're on a fault line. We should make them earthquake resistant or something. It's like, oh shit, these buildings are falling down. Maybe we should make them earthquake resistant.
Yeah,
so
remember Sean Smith, the Australian sex worker who was on comedian sex worker from Austria?
Yeah.
She sent me a video on Twitter, but where she's claiming it's all the capitalist fault. The fires are all the capitalist fault. And I was like, I don't get the capitalists start the fires to make money off of it. I mean, what do you get? That's all she really said.
I guess the only reason there's a city in California is because of capitalism, I suppose, because it's a desert.
Yeah, I mean, but you say that about Vegas. But like, okay, let's look at Katrina as as like a disaster that we know was not caused by anybody. People did not cause the hurricane. True, a lot of people lost their properties, but a lot of the rich people moved in to buy up that stuff, and it's not like the rich people caused the hurricane or they caused the levees to fail.
They took advantage of it.
Right, they took advantage of it. That's an old policy. It's like don't let a good disaster go to waste.
Oh yeah, there's going to be business coming out of this.
Right.
Sure.
And it's the same thing in California. It's not like the elite started the fire so they could buy the property. It's like, oh shit, there's some opportunity here.
You know that James Woods was on Fox crying because his house burnt down, only to find out his house wasn't touched by the fire. His house is fine.
Did he have a GoFundMe page already, though?
I don't know, but he put on his acting skill. He was actually crying tears. And
maybe it was an audition.
He was blaming Newsom, blaming the Democrats in California to find out. But now that he goes home and my house is fine.
He's auditioning for a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah, thanks to the
There's been a few incidences of that as well, where the entire street has gone apart from like 2 houses, where people have gone, shit, my house is still there for some reason.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
Yeah, those are the godly people.
But do they ever change and say, well, because going on the air and just kind of the conspiracies and the blame game? Do you ever come back and say, well, thanks to the great firefighters who saved my house or anything? I know Carl hates firemen, by the way. You guys didn't know this about Carl. Carl is the anti-fireman. If he lived in LA, he probably.
I thought
not in California, but in regular life, I'm just suspicious about how many fires there actually are. I don't see fires anymore. California, all right, you can convince me they're doing a job there, but in most cities, they're just whizzing around. What are you doing, dude? I've never seen a fire.
Okay, Carl. I know what happened to Carl. What? Carl watched an episode of the Flintstones when the volunteer fire department turns out didn't have anything to do because nothing in bedrock could burn because everything was built of rock. But they had a volunteer fire department. Huh?
Did they have the Flintstones on in the UK? Flintstones?
Yeah, we had that.
Oh. All right.
And so Carl saw the episode where Fred and Barney joined the volunteer fire department, which doesn't have fire, so that they could take dancing lessons to impress their wives. And
I've definitely stolen people's jokes that I thought were mine because I saw something 5 years ago. So for sure, that could be sitting in my memory somewhere. The Flintstones, as I was being beaten by my mother. I remember that episode.
All right. I'm going to continue having my emotional, financial, and physical breakdown. What do you guys
just get high? Just get high.
Yeah, I wish I could. The kids here. I got the grandson here. I got to hide it. All right.
Or let him join.
No, that's one way to die young.
I'll buy you a slice of shitty pizza next time I'm in New York.
Right.
Next time you're in New York, let me know because I will try to make an effort to come up to see you.
January 20th, governor's private party for anybody associated with Governor's Comedy Club. I'll be there January if I'm still alive, which is like 7 days from now, a week from.
Yeah, so I will see you there. I will see you there, Matt.
Monday night. I don't know. I just changed my mind. Monday night, I got to leave the house. I don't know. Anyway,
how about me? Monday afternoon, I have to leave my house.
Who do we have on the line now? Is that GD Fenderson? GD, do you know the phrase that pays?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Ovaltine. Drink Ovaltine.
Oh, who do we have on the line now? Stephen Sitcom Ortiz?
Hi, can you hear? Matt, hi. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
First-time caller. Do you know the phrase that pays?
Your mom's a crack whore.
No, your mom's a skank whore.
Skank whore. Damn it. All right, let me hold on. Can I have one more chance?
We're gonna have to give the prize to somebody else. What? You want to try one more chance? Go ahead.
All right. Try to turn on your radio.
No. The phrase that pays is don't forget to turn on your radio.
listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now.